Okay, we're live now.
Can you hear me now, Jill?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you heard me when you were, I think you were logging in as I was saying that. We are live now. Commissioner Johnson, if you're
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
I'm here. Yes.
Great. Sorry.
Thanks everyone for the work session for March the 1st, 2021. Roll call, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Cawthorn, I see you, but I did not hear you.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Gage Watts, again, I see you, but I can't hear you.
Present.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Talaferro.
Here, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here.
Commissioner Lazarus.
I'm here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yeah.
All right, you've got 11 of 12 members present and 1 absent. That is a quorum.
Okay. If I could get Commissioner Talaferro to do the invocation and Commissioner Cawthorn to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
Sure thing, Mr. President. Thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we love you, and because we do, we are so thankful for the opportunity to come together today as your servants to our community. Lord, we ask your many blessings upon those who are less fortunate than ourselves. Lord, lay your loving hand upon this meeting. Have this meeting be an encouragement and stealth to do the things that you have charged us to do for your kingdom. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. We all prepare for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Talaferro and Commissioner Cawthorn for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item is agenda additions. I don't have any. You have any, Mr. Clerk?
I've not heard of any additional agenda additions.
All right, next item.
So do you want to move on to, we have the motion to approve consideration of items under
So
Louisiana.
moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Burrell.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Anyone? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes without opposition, with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to, at this point on your agenda is where the certificate of teleconference is attached. No action is required, but just wanted to call it out for you. And that brings us to citizens' comments. We have received a few citizens' comments electronically. Would you like me to give the phone number out and then proceed with reading those comments?
Yes, sir. And remember that all comments are 3 minutes.
All righty. So everybody's comments are going to be limited to 3 minutes, and the phone number, if somebody would like to call, is 318-226-6596. Again, that number is 318-226-6596. And I will read the comments that we received electronically. These were initially received for our February, our second meeting in February, and the people who submitted them asked that they be saved and read at this meeting. So the first one comes from Mr. John Settle at 4 Tealwood. He says, Caddo Parish Caddo Parish Coroner, Dr. Todd Toma periodically provides updates on Caddo Parish COVID deaths. His most recent email included statistics reported by February 12th, and the summary is, in 2020, there were 472 COVID deaths. In 2021, there were 102 deaths. The average age of all decedents is 73.8. There have been 183 Black male deaths, 144 Black female deaths, 103 white female deaths, and 142 white male deaths, and 2 Hispanics, which he notes as an ethnicity, not a race. There were 26 decedents whose COVID-19 test results are pending, and all but a small number of deaths have been people with known or suspected pre-existing serious health conditions. This information on Caddo Parish is much more relevant than national statistics, especially when urging Caddo citizens to be vaccinated. So that is the first comment that we received. The next one comes from Glenda Mathis, who states she is a board member at the Deaf Action Center and says, 2020 was an absolutely crazy year for everyone, but the dedicated staff of the Deaf Action Center took the crumb from it offered as an opportunity to work even harder to serve the deaf and hard of hearing community in Caddo Parish. Throughout the pandemic, even though they've had to close their doors to the public, they have worked tirelessly to fulfill their mandate to provide interpreting for any and all who need it. Even while commercial interpreting was far less due to the pandemic and cancellation of lots of appointments they would normally interpret, the staff was always on call, particularly for medical interpreting. As always, we are incredibly grateful to the parish for their continued support and the support of all activists that provide equal access and opportunity to hearing and deaf residents alike. And we appreciate the opportunity to show our support for the Deaf Action Center and how important the work that it does. The next comment comes from Wendy Coker, who is a director of interpreting at the Deaf Action Center. She says, even at the height of this pandemic, when non-essential gatherings of any kind of appointments were highly regulated, if not outright against the law, we were still providing interpreters to the sick and those who needed to be seen at hospitals and clinics, taking our place as frontline workers and making sure that members of our community were treated fairly and given the same information as their hearing counterparts. COVID-19 and its aftermath have been scary to everyone, even those who have ready access to all of the most up-to-date information. So imagine how it's been for those who have to wait for information to be interpreted. Throughout it all, we have provided the most up-to-date information available and have stood behind our deaf and hard of hearing consumers as they navigate the complicated world of pandemic and uncertainty. We truly consider what we do an essential service, and we appreciate the parish's interest in supporting our work as we continue to advocate for the deaf and hard of hearing in Caddo Parish. And that concludes Ms. Coker's comments. I don't believe we have any callers. Michelle, do we have any callers on the line?
Next item.
Well, we did have a caller, but I don't believe they're still on the line. I'm sorry. So that brings us to visitors. Our next item is visitors. The first one we have is A Moment in Black History.
Well, we have the document that I think Commissioner Cawthon placed
I believe on
pioneering African American in law enforcement.
Yes, on the agenda we have. I think it's a photograph that's attached to that.
I thought we was doing that on Thursday, Jeff.
I'm sorry. I thought you wanted that attached today.
I mean, the visitor's not here today. They'll be here Thursday.
Okay. Well, we'll move that attachment to the other day. But otherwise, okay. I apologize, Commissioner Johnson. If I don't know if you had another presentation that you wanted to.
Yeah, my deal would be Thursday as well. I had the person here at our last work session, and since we didn't have that meeting, I didn't want to put it through that again. So we'll have a Moment in Black History Thursday.
Perfect. We'll make sure the agenda reflects both items for Thursday. That'll be great. Okay. The next item is Dr. Sushil Jain, who is here to prevent a vitamin D deficiency study in African Americans. He is the guest of Commissioner Burrell.
Well, Mr. President, I would like to welcome. I would like to welcome Dr. Jane here. I read an article on what he was doing. On the side, I do a little research too. I guess because my kids, many of them are in a science field, and vitamin D deficiency always interests me. And when an article came out that it could affect COVID, it made it even more interesting. And with Dr. Jane just receiving a grant, I can't remember exactly the amount, to study this as it relates to African American vitamin D deficiency, and how it, I believe how it relates to COVID too. I thought it was a topic that would be of interest to the commission. So I would like to introduce Dr. I think it's Sushil Jain. Dr. Jain, welcome.
Dr. Jain, I believe you're muted still. You may want to unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. I'm sorry.
Welcome, Dr. Jain.
Thank you, Dr. Burrell, for introducing me and for your interest in this research. I am at this medical center for the last 40 years and have been very interested in the health of African American population. And during the course of studies, we have been interested in why African Americans have higher incidence of diseases like diabetes and other complications. And during that research, I found that African Americans also have very high incidence of vitamin D deficiency. So I guess we all know that vitamin D deficiency is high in African American, and about 70% of the population has vitamin D deficiency. I guess you have the slides in front of you, the one I provided. And on the other hand, African American also have higher incidences of diabetes, heart disease, COVID-19, what you're talking, and associated mortality and other health problems. And this incidence is higher compared with white population. Why? And various studies have shown that there is a link between vitamin D deficiency and poor health. That is, those who have low vitamin D, they have more complications, irrespective of whether it's a white population or African American. So we know vitamin D is an important nutrient. And this is, vitamin D is an essential nutrient, and normally it is taken from food consumed daily and is also produced by body from sunlight. So depending upon our eating habits and how much we are outdoor, vitamin D levels can change in our body. And some studies have shown that African Americans have higher incidence of vitamin D deficiency because they have darker skin. Because when vitamin D is formed during sun exposure, darker skin doesn't let the light pass to the skin, and that's why there's less synthesis of vitamin D in the African American population. But we have gone beyond that, our discovery. And what we have seen, our discoveries have shown that glutathione is an essential nutrient and is needed for the synthesis of vitamin D. And this, hello?
Yes.
Are you here?
Okay, sorry. When we take vitamin D from the food or synthesized in our body, this needs to be converted to 25 hydroxy vitamin D or 125 hydroxy vitamin D. And these two, 125 dihydroxy vitamin D is the vitamin which is acting in the body or is active vitamin D. So what our discovery have shown that glutathione converts vitamin D into 25 hydroxy vitamin 5 dihydroxy. So if glutathione is deficient, vitamin D we are taking will not be affected. And glutathione is made from L-cysteine. And L-cysteine levels are low in African American population. So what our animal study have shown that those taking vitamin D along with L-cysteine have a higher efficacy or concentration of vitamin D in the blood compared with those who are taking vitamin D alone. So these studies which we did in the animal studies, we want to test in humans because African Americans have a higher incidence of vitamin D. They are the best human population to study. So what we are going to do is give our population vitamin D alone and another set of subjects with vitamin D along with L-cysteine, and then look at it whether vitamin D level increase in those taking L-cysteine also is much higher compared with vitamin D alone. Not only we are looking at the vitamin D level, we are also looking at insulin resistance. I don't know how much you all are aware of. Insulin resistance is very important for the well-being of humans, for all of us. If the insulin is needed for the glucose metabolism, and if insulin is impaired, this is called insulin resistance in the body, and that can lead to heart disease, to diabetes, and obesity. So this grant is for $1.52 million from NIH for a clinical trial in African American. So this is very important to find a new cure to treat vitamin D deficiency. Not only vitamin D deficiency, but how we can improve the health of African American population who have a very high incidence of vitamin D. The validation of this research in humans is going to be a breakthrough. It will open up many new approaches to treat or find cure for many other diseases. And in the page 2, we have shown advertisement, how we are going to enroll the subjects. And slide 3 gives that this study involves 5 visits, and we give a kind of compensation for the time they spend with us and the time and transportation to come to the hospital. And the total number of patients we plan to enroll are 120 subjects. Actually, these are not patients; these are the healthy subjects. But we have an exclusion criteria that those who are diabetic, we will exclude from studies, and those who are sickle cell disease will exclude, and pregnant women are excluded. And one of the requirement is we will take fasting blood sugar from these subjects who will be supplemented with vitamin D alone or vitamin D plus L-cysteine together. And these subjects will be on this trial for about 7 months. And we hope to finish this study in about 2.5 years, and I need your support. I need your encouragement, and I want if you all can motivate people to participate in this. So we need the participants, enrollment. We need volunteers to participate so that we could finish this in a timely fashion.
Okay, Dr. Jang, let me ask a couple of questions here. How long is the, I mean, how many you need in the study population that you're looking for?
120 subjects.
Okay, 120 subjects. It's a 7-month long.
7 months.
7-month long study. And what did you say about the 2.5 years?
Well, the grant is for 3 years, and we have been working on this for the last 6 months to prepare for the capsule special, IRB approval, and everything. And we are start this. So it's another 2.5 years.
Okay. Well, Mr. President, I'm just injecting here because I know that Dr. Jane has gone through his presentation, but just through anecdotal observation, you know, many African Americans, we used to work outside, so we probably had sufficient amount of sunlight that we were exposed to get vitamin D, but a lot of that has changed.
Yes, right.
And we didn't know that by coming inside and not staying out in the sunlight, we thought it was a detriment, but it was actually a benefit because it helped create vitamin D in the body. And given the fact, as Dr. James said, our skin is darker, it does not manufacture a vitamin D as well as those with lighter skin or white skin is what I'm understanding Dr. James saying.
That's
is
right.
that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it's very, very important that we participate in this, you know, in this test. It's not like giving a vaccine. I'm sure he's going to be giving you vitamin D, in which we take many times as supplements anyway. And but there are different types of vitamin D. I believe it's vitamin D1. I know it's a vitamin D2, vitamin D3. Dr. Jane, is there any one particular vitamin D that you're focusing on?
We are focused on vitamin D3, which is a whole calciferol, which is more natural in the body. Okay.
And natural as part of ultraviolet rays from the sun, creating it through the skin.
Okay. But you should, I want to add that even if the body is making vitamin D3 in the body, but it needs to be converted to 25 hydroxy vitamin D in the body after it is made.
Okay.
And it needs to be converted to 125 dihydroxy vitamin D also. So even if you are taking vitamin D, if the body is deficient in L-cysteine, that vitamin D will not do as good.
Okay.
And so if you, I guess you are interested in vitamin D research, probably you have read that there are clinical trials with vitamin D, and some of them are not successful because they were trying to give vitamin D to the population, high levels. But we believe that vitamin D alone is not adequate. Vitamin D is good if the body is have plenty of L-cysteine or glutathione. But many of us, particularly obese people, some other disorders, their glutathione level is low, L-cysteine level is low.
Okay. All right.
And what I'm trying to say is a hypothesis. We will, if this is proven in the trial we are planning to do, that will be a breakthrough.
Okay. One other question to vitamin D is is known, well, it's my understanding that it's known to help people to avoid COVID, or it has an effect on COVID. Am I understanding that correctly too?
That is correct. And there are several studies showing that, and because vitamin D acts as an immunomodulator, it can increase our immunity. It can decrease the so-called cytokine storm, which is produced because of infection.
Okay.
So that way, even if we are taking vaccines, if we are, this study is going to make vitamin D more efficient or more effective.
Well, we appreciate you coming, Dr. Jane, at this point. If there's any other questions from any of the commissioners, they have this opportunity, I'll assume, Mr. President.
I certainly want to thank for this opportunity, and I need your support in trying to talk to your colleagues so that more people we could enroll.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Dr. Gulen.
Thank you, Dr. Jane. Thank you, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Jane. I don't see any other commissioners that want to ask questions. So we appreciate you coming and giving us that information. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is the master plan update. I believe Mr. Alan Clark is on the line.
Oh, hold on. I think Commissioner Cawthorn had his hand up. He just threw his hand up. Commissioner Cawthorn, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, before the doctor leave, I just wanted one point of clarification, and he may have said it and I didn't catch it, but essentially vitamin D, what is the essential thing that it provides in the body, and the reason why a person should take it on a regular basis?
Well, vitamin D is very important for the first thing. It has been established for the bone growth.
Oh,
Vitamin D is essential for our growth, for insulin sensitivity. Vitamin D is essential to prevent diabetes, to prevent infection, to prevent so many vital processes. But again, active vitamin D, 125 dihydroxy vitamin D is the main active vitamin D which is needed in the body.
But you did say that it strengthens the immune system. Didn't you say that, Dr. Jane?
Yeah, it does improve the immune system. So it prevents infection. It makes the body stronger. I mean, those studies are known.
okay. Thank you very much.
And I have my telephone number. You can call me or send the email anytime you have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Jane. All right, I don't see anyone else. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, I'm sorry. I believe Mr. Alan Clark is on the line for the master plan update.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Just like to take a brief moment to share with you an update on the master plan, Great Expectations 2030. In the year 2010, after a collaborated effort between the city of Shreveport and the parish of Caddo, this master plan was adopted and has been in effect since that date. We're entering the 11th year of the master plan, and there were approximately 300 action items or recommendations that were suggested by the consultants in order to achieve the type of lifestyle, the conditions, the effectiveness of Shreveport Caddo Parish that was desired by both of these bodies and the citizens of both of these areas. The planning area consists of 360 square miles of land, of which 183 square miles is in the parish, which consists of 60%, and 123 square miles is within the city limits of Shreveport, which will make up the additional 40%. The population in the metropolitan planning area limits is 217,468. Of that, 23,683 persons are in the parish of Caddo, which makes up 11%, and 193,785, which makes up 89%, is within the city limits of Shreveport. Part of that desire for doing a master plan and creating a document that would lead to the desired goals of the parish and the city was to develop a unified development code that would place these recommendations into law. As you all know, a master plan is a recommending document that has suggestions on how to achieve the goals that are desired by a particular city or parish or county. But the actual law that goes into effect as a result of this plan is a code, and it was suggested that we do a unified development code for the metropolitan planning limits. Ideally, I think the suggestion would have required just one code, and that one code would have been for both the city and the parish planning limits. But the city and the parish chose to do two separate codes. And as you well know, as a result of them doing two separate codes, the Parish Unified Development Code, when it was attempted to be enforced, proved to be totally a urban type code and not a rural type code, and therefore was totally ineffective to be a governing document in the planning limits outside the city limits of Shreveport. So after we found out that information, in the last 6 to 8 months, we have been evaluating that code, and we have been meeting, and we have developed, started the process of developing a planning area development code, which is still a development code, but it would replace the Unified Development Code in the parish of Caddo in the event that that code becomes necessary. We have placed the draft, the second draft. We received comments on the first draft. We went back and did some modifications and revisions, and we have developed a second draft of this code. That second draft is on the MPC website. We have tried to reach out to the Caddo Parish website to ensure that this is on its website. I don't know if that's on there yet. We had some problems coordinating to get the code on the parish website, but we have placed that, and we think that the second draft of this code encapsulates to a degree acceptable all of the diversity that you find in the parish of Caddo. What we found was that you have total different thought processes in the 4 different sectors of the parish. The persons in North Caddo Parish think one way, people in South Caddo Parish, Southeast think one way, Southwest think another way, West Caddo Parish thinks another way, and we even have citizens in East Caddo Parish in the Dixie Gardens area that think another way. So we have put together a code for recommendation purposes only. We understand the implications of House Bill 697, Act 294, but I was sitting in earlier on the long range planning meeting, and I heard two gentlemen say that they loved Caddo Parish and they loved the city of Shreveport, and that's why they were out in the snow doing all the necessary things that they did and did not look for any pay or anything in return. And the MPC staff and the MPC board loves Caddo Parish and loves the city of Shreveport, and that's why we are moving forward doing the work that's necessary to be done with uncertain possibilities as a result of our work. But we have that, and we have put it out for public review, and we're soliciting additional comments from the citizens of Caddo Parish. We learned very recently some ideas and some thought processes of how do you get between being totally restricted and totally relaxed in reference to a code. So I think that if you take the time to look at this code, you will see that we have come up with a happy medium of sorts in order to address the concerns of all the citizens in the area, in that unincorporated area outside the city limits of Shreveport. We are also dealing with annexation. It is our desire to eventually pull together the Master Plan Advisory Committee. This is a committee that we think is essential for development inside the planning limits of Caddo Parish and the city of Shreveport. This committee would actually be representative of the MPC board, the Caddo Parish Commission, and the city of Shreveport. And it would be a body that works closely together to review ideas of development and planning in these particular areas to come up with comprehensive ways of addressing annexation. As you well know, a lot of ideas are that annexation is not good for municipalities because municipalities have shrinking funding, and with shrinking funding, they're not able to maintain the infrastructure at a level that it needs to be maintained. And if you add additional property through sprawl, it just puts over an unbearable burden on the infrastructure and the infrastructure costs. So we have to come up with ways to address those needs of annexation and try to come up with ways of preventing de-annexation. So those are the things that we're doing. The most important thing, like I shared with you, I didn't want to prolong too much time. The most important thing that we're doing is pulling together this Master Plan Advisory Committee. And once we get all of the representatives from the different entities, we will start working very diligently on developing additional goals of the master plan. Some of the ones that I've talked to you about, there are additional goals that have to be addressed. And I'd like to close by saying, when we started master planning, we thought that this was an economic development plan that was going to all of a sudden generate economic development within the planning limits. We realized that a master plan is not an economic development plan, but a master plan, one of the byproducts of a master plan is economic development. So it's important that we work with, we've been working with the parish administration to deal with those recommendations that were made for the parish. Once we can finally get all of those recommendations addressed, whether they're addressed with we've done them, we are not going to do them, then we can make recommendations for options to addressing those issues. Once we get all that done, we will come back again to you, although we will be coming each month to present updates to you, but we will have a finalized report verifying the effects and the values and the successes of the Great Expectations 2030 Master Plan. Thank you, Mr. President. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Yes, we have two commissioners. Commissioner Hopkins. Todd, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
I was going to say, I believe Commissioner Hopkins is logged in by phone. I'm trying to unmute him, but I don't have the ability to do it from.
Okay, we'll go to Commissioner Jackson then, and then come back to Hopkins.
Yes, Mr. President, I don't have a question. I did want to just make a comment. One, I want to thank Mr. Clark and the MPC for the work that they do with keeping up with the master plan. When we started out, I remember the meetings that took place. Jeff, you remember these back in at the convention center where everybody was getting together and we were excited about this. And so, but I do want folks, a lot of people, and I may have misheard Mr. Clark, but the master plan is not the UDC. The UDC is just one of the many products of the master plan. So a lot of people will say, we need to repeal the entire master plan. No, we just need to fix some of the elements and fix some of the issues that are within the master plan. But it was always meant to be a living, breathing document that was meant to change. It was meant to be amended as our community changed. And so it was never meant to be confined to one specific area or point in time in Shreveport or Caddo Parish. And so the fact that we have continued to move the needle on our master plan, because I know a lot of people will say, well, these reports, they just sit on the shelf and collect dust. So hats off to the MPC and the staff for implementing the plan and the change that comes with undertaking such as a master plan. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Hopkins, are you available to talk now or able to talk?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I just wanted to say to Mr. Clark that I appreciate him coming today. And I want to make sure that he is part of our planning and zoning or long-range planning committee, because you said some things that got my attention, and I'd like maybe when you come at our next meeting to bring a little more detail, and we can work from there. I think everybody on that committee has some ideas, and so I guess we need to take all those ideas and sit them in front of that group and see what's going to be workable for the parish. You know, I know that the master plan was written, and it was written primarily to report proper. The city, and we're talking about more in. So I'm not sure we master plan for the parish. About something we're gonna have to look at and decide as a group, as a body. So, but I appreciate you working on that with administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Burrell.
Yes, Mr. President, I just wanted to commend Mr. Clark too on his work in terms of planning. I guess I have a special love for planning because I spent about 18 years as a planner with Bell South, and it gave me a lot of insight as to being able to forecast what was coming, what we need to set aside for assets in order to underwrite the work that goes on in these plans. I was also in city government at a time in which we would create plans each year, over $200,000, $300,000. We pay for them and then we shelved them and never did anything with them. Because I did have an appreciation for some of those, for planning, I was able to take some of the plans off the shelf and actually go and just update those plans rather than creating another whole new plan and pay the same $200,000 the next year, and hopefully get some useful information out of it. One of the plans that I had done when I was on the city council dealt with adjudicated properties. We didn't even know how many adjudicated properties we had in the city, and we needed to try to take those properties and put them back into commerce, and we had been creating plans on it every year, but nobody ever did anything with them. So it's so important that the planning is so important. Some people don't believe in it. We had some of our public officials that didn't. They just felt that it was something that we put in a book or a document and sit there. But a good plan is worth its weight if we actually utilize it properly. So again, I thank you, Mr. Clark, on your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. I don't see any other commissioners. Mr. Clark, thank you for coming and giving us that update. Next item.
Next item is patriotic music. This is a carryover from last month's meeting, and Commissioner Cawthorn has provided a track to play right now. So you want me to go ahead and play that?
Yes.
This is going to be This Land Is Your Land, and this is Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings singing This Land Is Your Land.
This land is your land. From California to New York Island, yeah. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. Ooh, let me tell you that this land was made for you and me. As I was walking.
All right, and that was that first verse of This Land Is Your Land.
Okay. Next item.
And that brings us to reports. We have the administrator's report, which is attached. Dr. Wilson?
Yes, good afternoon, commissioners. Hopefully everybody is doing well after the massive winter storm we had about a week or so ago. I have several items today. First of all, I'd like to thank the Caddo Parish employees who assisted in the during the extreme weather event a week ago. They have gone above and beyond in addressing the needs of our citizens and coming up with an innovative solution to problems that we were having to address unforeseen emergencies, from keeping the public informed about weather-related events and resources, coordinating alternative transportation, clearing roads, and distributing water, and a host of other things. And also, I'd like to commend the Office of Homeland Security for doing an exceptional job in coordinating all the efforts that went into keeping all the local agencies on point and being able to respond to things that were most urgent at the time. They worked around the clock, and I appreciate their help during a difficult time. By way of updates, the relocation of the Confederate monument, we did an RFP. It was issued on Thursday, January the 28th. With response due by 3 p.m. on March 25th. The mandatory pre-bid conference had to be rescheduled from last Thursday to last Thursday, February 25th, due to extreme weather events a week before. The awarding of the RFP is estimated to be completed by April 2021, with approved contract signed by May. The wording on the monument box is halfway completed, and it was delayed due to weather conditions, and prayerfully as the weather cooperate, we will get that task done. We have 2 sides out of 4 done already. The disparity study, the RFP was advertised on Thursday, February 18th, with the RFP due in April 2021. The I-49 welcome signs, LADOTD, did not approve our plans, and they have indicated that we need to change our design to their desired specification. And right now, TBA is working with DOTD to come up with that change in design. So we'll have that maybe in another week or so from our architectural firm. Last Friday, we sent you out an update on the U.S. Treasury Emergency Rental Assistance Program. You should have got an email last week. We're still working towards trying to get this released the first part of this March. We'll be meeting with our community partners in another week or so. And we did select the Housing Authority of the City of Shreveport to administer the program for us. They have a plethora of knowledge in this area, and we have worked with them before in the past. So everything is moving forward with respect to that. Also, I'd like to remind you, you should have gotten the 2020 Small and Emerging Business Report from us. We sent you that by way of email. And we also sent you the 2021 January monthly financial report. Also, I attached to the agenda today is my recommendations for the Animal Services Board that will hear various issues on dog issues that we have that come before a bipartisan group of people to decide the outcome of different animal issues we're working on. But they need to be reappointed. And also, I sent you all today a letter of recommendation from me to you all concerning House Bill 697 regarding the zoning in the parish and the MPC efforts. So I talked to Commissioner Chavez today at the Long Range Planning Committee meeting, and that man will be taken up to that committee in maybe a couple of weeks. So, but I sent everybody a copy of it so you'll know what the recommendations are. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Yeah, Dr. Wilson, I had one on the I-49 signs.
Yes, sir.
That was to change the signs if it was to remain on state property. Have we looked at any private property that we could put the signs on?
I think we have an issue with one of the signs because we have secured the other sign on private property already. So we are trying to actually locate another private property so we can have that as an option for you all. And if that being the case, if we can achieve that, then the state would not have an issue with it because it won't be on state property.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yeah, Dr. Wilson, getting back to this rental program, am I understanding you to say that the Shreveport Housing Authority will actually serve as an umbrella organization that will monitor the activities of those other individual organizations that would be administering it?
No, sir. They're going to be the administrator of the program for us, and they will train all our local partner agencies on the process. And they are partnering with a company called CVR to create an online portal access. So they will be able to develop software that he can do it online, but they will be responsible for the complete setup and administration of the program, short of cutting the checks for the program.
Who will cut the checks?
Now, we will oversee that operation.
Okay, so what was discussed before about 4 different, I'll assume I usually use the term partners.
Yeah, we'll have up to about 6 partners.
Okay, so those groups will still be working with Shreveport Housing Authority?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's me. I was saying an umbrella. Shreveport Housing Authority being an umbrella group, umbrella organization to the partners, I assume. Maybe that's the way I should have stated it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, and the partners will help the individual end users fill out the forms and that kind of thing?
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when is the start date? You said estimated start date?
We are about a week behind due to the weather we had a week or so ago, and we are trying to get caught up. And our next major task is to meet with all the local partners and the administrator to begin this process of training and getting acclimated on the process. And then we'll be ready to roll it out after that meeting, because the local partners have to be trained first on the process. Once that has been accomplished, then we'll be ready to move forward.
Okay. Second question.
Yes, sir.
Second question. I know that you and the president work with Chief Prater, Sheriff Prater,
yes, sir.
as part of the Homeland Security to distribute water to many of our residents. Correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Is that operation over, or what? Or are there people that still need water?
Actually, we had some last remnants of it today being administered today. So as far as my understanding is, every municipality is pretty much back on water, with some challenges still in the Greenwood areas. And then we have some people have issues with busted pipes that will still need some water. So that's being handled as we go. but I think the majority of the water has been given out. And I think Commissioner Johnson will probably be in a better position to speak to that than I am, because he has been on the lead of that issue with respect to at the point of Southern University.
Okay, well, the reason I was
Yes.
asking is that my former president of ULM, or it was Northeast when I was there, I received a call from Dr. Bruno, who is just stepped down as president of ULM, and he had a friend that had a water company, and he contacted me about if there was water that was still needed, then they were willing to supply some. He didn't give me the total amount, but I was going to call them today to find out. So if there are any of our commissioners here that know of people who are in need, then maybe I can, I told them that I would try to coordinate that for them, but they are out of West Monroe. It is the King Spring Water Company. And they made contact with me, and I told them I would get back with them in the next couple of days.
Yes. Okay. Commissioner Burrell, I'm not aware of any other parts of the community needing water at this point. I had to get an update from the Homeland Security Office for you on that. And I stand to be corrected, sir. Greenwood is now 100% back online.
Okay.
And then we also have not 6 agencies, local partners, we have 5 under the Emergency Rental Assistance Program.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
But I think also that Greenwood is still asking people to be conservative on the water as well.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, Dr. Wilson, you answered one of my major questions about the number of partners, but also the Housing Authority, they're administering the program within the term or within the scope of what the Resolution 9 set forth. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I think we well beyond that, but yes.
Okay. All right. I just, if you feel like y'all gone beyond that scope, I just wanted to make sure that they're going to work within those parameters.
Yes, sir.
And also, okay. And also just want to make sure that that they take into consideration. We had a good meeting last week. Ms. Bryant was there, representing you in your place, and some comments came up, particularly around the legal aid component, and just some more technical questions about, are we going to waive penalties and stuff like that? So just want to make sure that we take all that into consideration as we roll it out. I'll share with y'all some of, that's why I was late getting on today. I was on the call with Louisiana Housing Corporation, and I'll share that with you offline, but definitely want the public to know that we're working diligently to get it on. And maybe I sent y'all that information about the court order that came out of Dallas. I see where the Justice Department is appealing it. So if you want to keep legal to ask them to kind of just monitor that, because it could go either way. I mean, you never know how it might come out.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Wilson, for your reports, could you add, I guess as you roll things out, it's time to add some on, but the right sizing program for the right side program for Caddo Ford, could we add that to our piece? Also, the legislative priorities, I don't know if I added that under mine, but could we please make a push to exempt for 30 to 90 days economic development things from our public meetings? Nobody's asking anybody to overturn public meeting laws. I want to be clear. We're not asking them to overturn them. We're just saying so that local government can do the things that are necessary.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's the same thing they do with police officers when they're doing an investigation. Their records are sealed for period of time. How long is it, Commissioner Teleferro, before the officer's information is made available? He may not be on here, but
Yeah, he's on.
okay, that information is sealed for a period of time. Everybody know what I'm talking about. Until the investigation and all that stuff is completed, and then the public can have access to all that stuff. And so if we could just get something like that for economic development, I think we really be doing local governments a great thing. So if you could add that, I don't know if y'all finalized your list yet.
Yes,
if
sir.
you could add that to your list, to the priorities list, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's it for me, Mr. President. Thank you, Dr. Wilson and the team for what y'all did during the snowstorm as well. I don't want to leave that out. Thank y'all for your work.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Jackson. See no other commissioners. Next item.
Okay. Next item is going to be, well, just want to make sure y'all did see the January financials are attached, and the February financials will be on your next agenda, or on your second meeting in February agenda. The next item is the commission remarks. We were at communiques and reports.
Okay. Currently, I don't see any commissioners, so next item.
Okay. Did you have a president's report today?
I do it Thursday.
Okay, great. That brings us to old business, where we have one item. The item under old business is ordinance number 5961. This is an ordinance amending and reenacting sections of 4-61 and 4-61.1, and enacting sections of 4-63, 64, 65, all of Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo, pertaining to permits for the sale of alcoholic beverages and alcoholic beverage handling cards, and otherwise providing thereto. This was originally introduced back in July, and then the public hearing was held in October, and it did not come back up until December due to teleconference limitations. But at the December meeting, it was postponed until your second meeting in February, which was not able to happen. So that's how it finds itself here.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
Second.
The move by Commissioner Hopkins, second by Commissioner Atkins, to move ordinance number 5661 of 2020 to Thursday.
Sir, that's ordinance
Commissioner
number
Hopkins, you want to speak?
5961.
Okay, 5961. Commissioner Hopkins, you want to speak on your motion?
I think we've done everything. We had a public hearing already. I guess my question to Jeff is, we do not have to have another public hearing. Is that correct?
That is correct. We've met the requirement.
Okay, so we're just moving this to Thursday, where we'll vote on this. This was just an opportunity to set up a subcommittee instead of trying to do the whole board sitting in as a whole to alcohol beverage, because we really have like 5 commissioners who have these type of businesses. I mean, this is something I put forward. However the body votes, I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Okay. There was also some changes to the offense amounts to Commissioner Hopkins, and that's the part that I have reservation on, but we'll discuss that Thursday.
Okay.
All right. Roll call, please.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn. Commissioner Cawthorn, I didn't hear you if you responded. Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is new business. Under new business, we have quite a few items. The first one is authorized ordinance number 6031 of 2021. It's an ordinance declaring certain adjudicated properties to be surplus and to authorize the parish administrator or a designee to sell the parish of Caddo's tax interest in certain surplus adjudicated properties and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is in District 3, and there are documents attached.
I'd like to amend and introduce this ordinance with just 0016, 0194, 0012.
Okay, so you would like to amend and introduce 0016, 0194, 0012?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I take that back. Just move it forward. I'll amend it at final adoption. Just to move it all forward. I take that back. Move it all forward.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Jeff.
No problem. I got it. Are y'all ready for a roll call on that?
I was gonna speak.
I'm waiting on the second.
I
Oh,
second.
I seconded.
Yeah, the second that I heard was
I
from
didn't
Commissioner Hopkins.
hear it. Okay, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, no problem.
Motion been made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Hopkins to move Ordinance 6031 of 2021 to Thursday. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak on your motion?
Yes. I'll just say I will more than likely have some amendments at final adoption. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Don't see anyone else. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Gage Watts, I didn't hear you if you responded.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And the next item on your agenda is authorized introduction of ordinance number 6035 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $10,000 to provide an appropriation for the Betty and Leonard Phillips Deaf Action Center and otherwise provide with respect thereto from Commissioner Young.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Young, seconded by Commissioner Lazarus to move Ordinance 6035 of 2021. Commissioner Young, speak on your motion.
There.
Yes, please. So the Deaf Action Center is an important nonprofit that serves a very underserved community that I understand has suffered extra during COVID because they rely so much on being able to see people's faces to communicate. And they reached out to me to seek funding for some of their operations. And I think several of them called in to speak about what those were. So I just wanted to submit this to the group and ask for your approval. Thanks.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a worthy organization. They do good work, although I always have some concerns when we are looking to fund NGOs outside of the annual NGO funding process. Is there a specific reason why this is coming to us at this time and not part of the annual review process?
May I answer that?
Yes, Commissioner Young, you may answer that question.
Thank you. Commissioner Atkins, I think we may have discussed it on the phone. I'm not sure if you recall, but I recall putting this into the budget as an item in a late September meeting for NGOs, and it was left out of that budget. I'm not sure why. I think it may have been because of a general tightening philosophy that we had put in place. And I just wanted to offer it as an amendment to the budget because the group was still seeking funding for their important work. I understand if those objections, are insurmountable.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, see no one else. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item on your agenda, which is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6036 of 2021, an ordinance amending the 2020 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund to reduce the appropriation for riverboat revenue by $300,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Atkins to move ordinance number 6036 to Thursday. Commissioner Hopkins, you want to speak on that?
No.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Haley, could you speak to that of why we need to do this? And then I get you, Commissioner Burrell.
Hey, Haley, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
I think she's trying to get off mute, but this is Erica. I can explain if you need me to.
Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah,
Okay,
so in accordance with the State Budget Act, you can't go more than 5%. If you underestimate your revenues by more than 5%, you have to notify the commissioner, write it, and have a budget amendment. And it's the flip side for the expenses. So this is because our revenues came in under the 5% amount, over the 5% amount, and so we have to amend the budget.
Sorry about that. I couldn't
Okay,
unmute.
thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
All right, Commissioner Burrell.
Well, I think that's what I was trying to find out, why the reduction, but Erica, is what I'm understanding her to say, that if the revenues come in under 5%, then we are authorized to do an amendment to the budget. Is that pretty much what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we have to fund what you allocated already.
Yeah, and so that you're correct, that Commissioner Burrell, that if the revenues are come under by 5%, we're required by the Budget Act to reduce our budget.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
So we had a budget of 1.2, but we're only going to get about 900,000. So that's why we have to reduce our budget down.
Okay. Thank you, Haley. Commissioner Chavez, you off? Your hand
No,
was up.
It's on there, President. My question is, we're reducing our budget by 300,000, but how's that going to affect the budgets on all the other respective NGOs or economic?
That's for 2021. I mean, for 2020, not 2021.
So Commissioner Chavez, to answer your question, the revenues are down, but because of the COVID restrictions, a lot of the NGOs that we had funded did not receive their funding in 2020, or they didn't get as much of their funding. So our expenses are also down in the riverboat because of the COVID restrictions. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but there is a little bit of a fund balance. But from off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that because of the decline in expenditures, we should be fine for 2020.
Thanks, Haley. That's some good news. Typically, when you get less money, you have more bills. So the
Well,
fact that
so I think it's just because COVID cut down on so many of the tutoring programs and that kind of thing, that those entities didn't receive their money.
Okay. Thanks for that explanation, Haley. President, I'm done. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to piggyback a question here. So would we need to make an adjustment to our starting position for 2021? Or because hello?
This is for the 2020 budget.
Right, I know, but
We're
if we say
voting on.
right, I'm saying I know, but so we're starting to recognize today that 2020 came in under budget. But don't we use what we end with in 2020? Don't we use that to in our budget as our starting, our beginning balance? I don't always see like a beginning balance there. So would that number need to be adjusted, or is that number doesn't matter?
Well, Commissioner Jackson, the beginning fund balance, we knew that we were going to come in under budget when I was doing the 2021 budget because the boats were shut down early in the year. So therefore, we don't need to make any adjustments in 2021 at this time.
So you're saying the 2021 already accounts for this $300,000 decrease?
The 2021 budgeted fund balance has already been adjusted for this. We're just adjusting the 2020 budget.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so that we don't break the budget.
No, you just answered my question. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was asking, was the 2021, that's what I was asking, was the 2021 budget adjusted in consideration of this 300? So if you're saying yes, okay. That's it for me, Mr. President.
All right, see no other ones. Roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that right. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson? Commissioner Jackson, I didn't hear you if you responded.
Yes. Can y'all hear me?
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn?
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts?
Yes.
Commissioner Calafaro?
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus?
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to our next item, is item 12.4, authorized introduction of ordinance 6037 of 2021 in relation to zoning case 20-22-P. It's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the northeast and southeast corners of Dixie Shreveport Highway and I-220. Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from I-2 Heavy Industrial District to NA Natural Areas District to OS Open Space District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is in District 1.
Move to introduce for introduction.
Commissioner Atkins, hand up, sir.
We got to pass the motion first.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Atkins to advance ordinance 6037 of 2021. Commissioner Hopkins, you want to speak on your motion?
Yeah, this is basically downgrading a zoning from industrial down to open space district so they can put some campgrounds in. I think it creates more green space and stuff like that. So I support it.
All right,
Thank
Commissioner Atkins.
Commissioner Hopkins answered my question. Thank you, sir.
Okay, let me check. See no one else. See no one else on the board. Roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item, which is to authorize the introduction of ordinance number 6038 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund for the year 2021 and to provide an appropriation of $250,000 for mental health agencies and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
Second.
Then moved by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Cawthorn. Let's see. Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I just had a couple of quick questions. Where did, it seems like we've addressed this before and maybe it was something similar, so I do apologize. So the $250,000, Commissioner Jackson, how do we come to that number for appropriation?
I'm sorry.
Well, this
Commissioner
is different
Talaferro,
from
that's gonna be for
the
Johnson.
previous. Yeah, this is different from the previous motion on mental health. The one on mental health before was setting up a mental health hotline.
Oh,
This is actually going to the agencies to provide programs for people with mental health.
Okay, got it. You're correct. Thank you for reminding me. So the $250,000, how did we arrive at that specific dollar amount for the services?
That amount was based on some of the organizations and then dividing the money up between those organizations.
And how did we select those organizations to receive that money?
I asked United Way to give me some reputable organizations that we could use,
Okay.
and that information came from them.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson. You there, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, I actually have an amendment. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to have the 250 be, to make sure that whatever funds are drawn down as the secondary payer. And so that basically Medicaid, if individuals qualify, well, I'll explain it, but if I can get a second on the motion.
Thank I'll second that.
Okay, so,
okay.
Yeah, so basically, what I'm suggesting is that Medicaid be billed first because this is similar to what I have pushed for even at CCC and at juvenile detention, is that services for low to moderate income or chronically ill individuals, that Medicaid, more often than not, those individuals qualify for Medicaid. Particularly with President Biden expanding the open enrollment period, and Louisiana now has a rolling, so there's no end now to when you can sign up for Medicaid in Louisiana, and so that the services that can be covered by Medicaid, we need to have an attestation, and we need to know that Medicaid, an attempt to collect from Medicaid was made first, and if Medicaid won't pay out, then these dollars will kick in. And all of those organizations, they deal with CMS, they deal with being a secondary payer, so they should definitely be familiar with this process.
Point of information.
Well, Commissioner Burrell, you up next, so you
Okay.
have to do a point of information.
All right. Well, I just Am I? I mean,
That's
am
it.
I-
Oh, that's it for me, Mr. President. I'm sorry if anybody else has a question, but that's
Yeah,
it
you have
for
the
me,
floor,
Mr. President.
Commissioner Burrell.
Okay, I was just gonna first follow up with something Commissioner Jackson said. So this $250,000 now, since we're making this amendment, would be like a supplement to Medicaid.
It could be.
Yeah, because we kind of
That's to you,
changed.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, we kind of changed the scenario right there, where these will be direct dollars based upon the initial services given. But now we're basically saying, what I'm hearing is that if Medicaid doesn't pay, then this would be a supplement that could be used for
Right.
the payment.
Right.
Okay. All right. My second question is, have the organizations been identified by United Way? If so, can we get a list of them?
What was that question again, Commissioner Burrell?
I understood that United Way were identifying the organizations that will utilize these funds. And my question
No,
is,
I asked United Way for some organizations that we could utilize for this program, and they gave me those.
okay, can that be shared with the commissioners?
You got the list. It's on the ordinance.
Okay, then. All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, I guess my question is, I'm looking at these groups, but do they specifically, any of them, cater to veterans? I want to make sure
Yes.
we get that in there.
Yeah, the intent of the ordinance is to cater to veterans, our youth, because we have a lot of juvenile delinquency that have mental issues, and veterans that have some mental health issues.
Okay.
Those are the two categories that mainly I was trying to target, because talking to people in that industry, you know, if we don't capture those youth right now, they will continue to do crime and basically, you know, end up in the system. So if we can try to head them off and give them a program in which they can actually try to go down the right path, this works. Other than that, then all we're doing is this band-aiding the program by looking at only the veterans, but not the youth as well.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I recognize there is a real need out there for mental health services, particularly as you indicated, the desire to channel some of this through the juvenile system and try to get ahead of the game with some of our youth who find themselves in mental duress and then later as a result in trouble with the law or other complications. But I do have to point out my concern that our budget for NGO through the riverboat is roughly $1 million. And this request is for roughly a quarter of that $1 million. Do you envision that we would just exceed our budget, or do you envision that we would dial back our expenditures in other NGO organizations?
Well, one thing, when I typically do a ordinance, it's always up to that amount. And if talking through finance and we don't have that much in there based on the number, then we stop at the number that we have. But basically what I try to do is put a number in so I don't have to come back and ask you for any additional funds.
Okay. Do you envision that we would have to reduce our expenditures on other NGOs to accommodate this 250?
No, like I said before, once we get into it and it passes, I will get with finance and see what the actual dollar amount is for our budget and NGO, and then I'll know, and I can actually know that before we vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Jackson, you on there again, or that's
Yeah, for the second time. Yeah, I just
from the first time?
Yes, I'm on the second time.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I add Veterans Affairs, if it's Veterans of Focus as well. So either Medicaid or the VA, Veteran Affairs, because they have VA benefits as well. So I just want to make sure that I'm consistent with what I push for at CCC as well as at juvenile detention. Thankfully, it looks like we're making some headway in Congress and repealing this Medicaid exclusion, but want to make sure that we're first giving the Medicaid incentives and the VA benefits to be able to be billed first before the pair. So that's my only change that I want to just add to my amendment at this time. So I just want to make sure that we include VA as well. That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I like the amendment that Commissioner Jackson introduced. I'll be voting on that. But I don't know a lot about the mental health sector in regard to like Medicare, and maybe if Dr. Wilson gets somebody on board that we can talk to on Thursday's meeting. My question is, when you go to get mental health and the VA picks it up, or or Medicare picks it up, if federal funding, President Biden's bill picks it up, or what are we going to be on the hook for? That's what I'd like to get, like a professional. Are we, the parish, going to be paying for the copay, 20%, $20? And I'd like to get that answer, because that'll help us in identifying how this can pass. Because what Commissioner Atkins stated of this being a quarter of our budget already, if we can identify from a healthcare professional that this may only need 20%, then we can reduce this $250,000 ask to something more manageable, to like maybe $50,000, get it past, appropriate $10,000 to each entity that you've named, and then run it as a test pilot to see if each program even really needs the assistance of up to $250,000. If 80% of that request that they need to help mental health in our community gets covered federally funded via 80%, and we only have to pony up the other 20%, and the 10,000 is sufficient, then I think maybe all the commissioners could get on board with that. But I don't know enough about it to know how the reimbursement is from the federal funds or the VA. So if maybe Dr. Wilson can get somebody to speak on that on Thursday, and I'll feel more comfortable voting on it. But I agree, it's needed in our community. But I want to make sure that our budget can reflect what we can manage. That's all, President.
Okay, Commissioner Burrell, second time. You're muted.
Going back to something that Commissioner Atkins just stated about fourth, am I understanding him to say that we have $1 million cap for the Riverboat funds, and if we put this $250,000 on top of our NGO budget, then it would actually blow the NGO budget? Is that?
No, Roy,
Maybe I'm
basically,
confusing the two.
Basically, there was $1 million for projected for this year in Riverboat Gaming.
Okay.
And we budgeted in the budget $750,000. So
For NGO.
there's been a budget, for NGOs. There have been budget amendments. There was some administrative fees that came out of that, but the Riverboat Gaming, or the NGO fund, does have means to have a reserve budget. So we could easily pull from the reserve budget of oil and gas, just like we've been doing on all the rest of them to cover that.
Okay, so the 250,000 on top of the 700 and whatever that's already in the budget may exceed the $1 million that we're projecting, and so but we got a reserve fund that we can actually make up the difference.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
right,
that's correct.
All right.
Okay. And that's what I will be getting with Haley between now and our next meeting.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
All right. See no one else. Let's vote on the amended motion.
All right, this is the amendment so that this is the second payer behind Medicaid. This was the amendment from Commissioner Jackson.
VA and VA.
Yeah, and VA. And this was seconded. This was Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Chavez.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Clerk. Just a point of clarification. There are going to be some people who will not have it. And I don't want for everybody to think that everybody will have Medicaid, Medicare, and VA, but there will be some people who are stuck without. So that number just is smaller now that the open enrollment is extended, as well as a rolling now Medicaid roll sign up. So just wanted clarification on that.
Okay. Are we? You want me to proceed with the roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Coughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes, I'll vote to advance.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
That motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And just to be clear, my understanding was that was to amend and advance. So just want for the record, want to say that. The next item is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6039 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund and the capital outlay fund in the amount of $75,000 to provide an appropriation to erect a COVID-19 memorial and otherwise provide with respect thereto, from Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson, we can't hear you.
I'm back now.
There you are.
I got kicked out. So where are we?
I'm sorry, we just read the introduction language for 6039, which is the
Okay.
code.
Anybody make the motion?
Not yet.
Okay.
Move. I guess move to.
Oh, yeah. Move to advance. Move to advance.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Gage Watts to advance ordinance number 6039 of 2021. Look like Commissioner Talaferro is on the board, and then Commissioner Atkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, a couple of questions here. I understand the severity of the number of cases and the number of deaths due to COVID-19. My question is that I guess what's the premise of a memorial for this specific illness, as opposed to any other illnesses that we don't have any kind of memorials dedicated to?
Well, this has been a pandemic, and it basically has shut the United States down for a temporary period of time. And in localness, we lost a lot of community leaders. We lost people from all sectors of life, not only white, black, Asian. It didn't skip over income level. Poor people, rich people, a bunch of people died. And so it's just to remember those. And you'll see a lot of these that will be going up. And if Caddo can actually lead the United States in doing this, it would be wonderful, and it will be a tourism attraction. It will bring dollars in because people will come and see our memorial. And then you'll have other cities doing it. And so if we get on board and do it first, then I think it will be more beneficial than trying to do it later on when everybody else has it, or, you know, no one really wants to put one in at the end.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree the COVID-19 and the coronavirus is certainly a significant event. Certainly, everybody's lives have been impacted. However, I view this expenditure as being a discretionary spending event. And I personally would prefer to keep that money in our accounts, make sure we don't need it for immediate needs that will have a positive impact on our current citizens. There may be, you know, we keep seeing needs pop up to help direct the safety of our population. So while I respect the premise behind the initiative, I personally would rather postpone this discretionary spending event until the crisis is passed. I understand you'd rather be a first mover on this, but you and I just simply disagree on that, and I'll be voting not to advance. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes, sir. I see that in the annals of human life and in the American continuum, there are some events that happen that are so monumental, that are so noteworthy, that we need to stop and take pause to commemorate. One that comes to mind on the American soil was 9/11, and the almost 4,000 people whose lives was lost. It took the city of New York to a little while to get the memorial put together and start building the new tower, but that is a catastrophic event that happened on the soil of America, particularly in the city of New York, and the persons of New York City want to pay homage to that. I think that the COVID-19 is another human experience. And I always like the fact that in the humanity of things that happen, and we did lose some people that were salt and pillar of this local community, who were pioneers in a lot of ways, who were business owners, who were civic people, just a collage of different people. And so I want to commend Commissioner Johnson for taking part to say something. This is something that we need to do. And I would definitely be voting in favor of it, so that as years pass on and people come behind us, they'll know that this virus took control. This virus took the lives of several people, and we wanted to take pause and commemorate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Hawkins.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Where are you suggesting we put this monument?
Once it gets passed, if it gets passed, I would like to put it in a place where it will still draw tourists. I'm thinking more down on the riverfront, which is owned by the city, and we will have to have an MOU with the city to put it on the property. But I just think that it would be better there, not at the courthouse. I don't want it at the courthouse. I want it somewhere where people will actually go and see it and look at it and take pictures with it, and just want to be a part of it.
Almost. I understand where you're coming from on this. I'm just right now. I've got problems with spending money to put another monument up. Until we're taking one down and we're gonna put one up. They're different, but I'm having a little monument hangover. So
Okay.
that's why I asked that question. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Burrell.
Well, when I first saw this, I was kind of under the same impression as Commissioner Atkins, but since I've gone through COVID, has gotten COVID myself, and a lot of friends that I've had who contracted it, a number of them, died and has passed on. I haven't had an opportunity, like so many people, had an opportunity to even grieve those deaths. They, in one situation, I know that they said that they had to be in the ground in 72 hours. And many people really have not taken the time to grieve those persons who've gone on. That has meant a lot to them. And when I first looked at this, I said, well, maybe it shouldn't be something that we should, spend time and dwell on. But I think it's so important that we do recognize those that wind up passing in an event that in many cases we had some control in. I know we had some control in nationally, and many of them passed on under no circumstances of themselves. It was a pandemic. It was a situation where we were not prepared for. So in a situation like that, I think that to create a monument to them, when on a national level, they are looking at creating some sort of monument for this period of time in particular. And secondly, if we can spend money to, as Commissioner Hopkins said, to take down a monument and preserve it, not destroy it, but preserve it, based upon the fact that this monument represented people who fought against this country at one time, including my great-great-grandfather. I throw that out there because he was a Confederate soldier. And that we can take this particular time and look at something like this and try to do something to help people get through this grieving period, because people have not started to grieve yet over those who've been lost. So I think it may be something that's worth looking at, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I share a lot of the sentiments of what people already said on both sides of the aisle. What kind of worries me is the fact that we just got a $300,000 reduction in our budget. So I'm kind of leery on spending any more money that we don't really need. We need mental health. We need to help our citizens. I understand that. So I'm worried about spending money on things that we don't necessarily need right now. I guess my question is, you answered the where, but the what? I understand it's a COVID-19 memorial, but what exactly is it going to be? A cement or a bronze statue of what necessarily?
It would probably be marble with names on it.
Okay. I don't know. It's I think we have so much stuff that we're already working on. I'm probably leaning towards voting no on this and waiting until we have an influx of revenue. I'm just giving you my thoughts on it. But I do understand that people have lost loved ones, and we have a lot of local homes where they or grave sites, memorials, different places where they put the headstone out in the cemetery. I'm thinking maybe if, as opposed to us just purchasing and building this, allowing a spot where the families of the individuals could do something rather than us have to pay for it out of pocket. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning against this one. Sorry to disagree with you, President. I just want to give you my thoughts on it. That's all.
Okay. I hadn't smoked yet, but okay. I might change your mind.
Okay.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, Mr. President, I actually, if I heard somebody ask where would it go if possible, I would actually see how we could reach out to the medical school or to the charity, I shouldn't say charity hospital system, then the safety net hospital here in town to see if the monument can be placed there, and also do this in conjunction with recognizing the work that the medical community has put in during this time. And so I just want to throw that out there. I do agree that people have not had a place to grieve and to give true reflection to those individuals whose lives have been unfortunately lost. So, but I would hope. Commissioner, as the commissioner who represents downtown, I really truly think we're about monument out in downtown. I would love to see a monument at one of the medical centers or at all of the medical centers to pay tribute to the medical staff, but also to honor the lives lost due to COVID-19. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to first of all say thank you for introducing this legislation, and I am in support of it for various reasons. I know that some of the sentiments are, some things we kind of nickel and dime when it comes down to things like this, but it's advantageous for us to be able to have something to memorialize so many victims that we have lost right here in Caddo Parish. I believe that it does not always matter about where it goes. We can talk about that at another time. I think the most important thing is that we take the lead. I always say that Caddo is always behind, and most of the time we're behind on making decisions like this because we just cannot agree on where it should be. And this is one of those things that, as it's been mentioned before, that a lot of people were not able to actually process the death of their loved ones with proper burials, as we're accustomed to here in the South. A lot of us were not able to grieve because we had to make decisions within 72 hours. And that was a very hard thing for me personally. And also for a lot of people who did not have the opportunity to visit their loved ones during the COVID season, in which it is still here. But when they are hospitalized with COVID and you can't be there with your loved one, I think that this would be an attractive economic driver to our area. And I would ask that everyone else would support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Watts. Just want to say a few things about the reason the ordinance is put in place or wanted to be put in place. We do have a lot of families that didn't get a chance to reach or see their loved one before they died. Caddo typically is a parish that leads. We don't really follow. And the money that we're talking about is basically small compared to some of the other things that we do. They have went and gotten some bids on the monument. And there again, I hate to undercut and then you come in with some unforeseen expenses. So I always go on the high side. Don't expect it to cost this much, but I always make sure that there's room in the ordinance for any unforeseen circumstances. Like engineering or we need to put in some kind of reinforcement on the ground to hold the weight of the monument. So that's one of the things that I always do when I write an ordinance and put a dollar amount to it, is always put some extra in there so that it's up to that particular dollar amount, and hopefully that it will go below that without those unforeseen expenses. I heard one question of why this and why not some other reasons or cause of death. This COVID-19 basically almost crippled the United States. A lot of industries have folded. The first responders had to work a lot of overtime. A lot of people had to go to work that really didn't want to go to work, but that was their profession, and they stuck to their profession. If you look at the United States now, as opposed to pre-COVID, there's a lot of changes. There continue to be changes. We're probably at the back end of it now, unless there's a new strain that comes out that knocks out the vaccines. Typically, when the vaccine comes out and most of the population has the opportunity to get it, the pandemic goes away. And, with the process of our government, it's going to take a while to do RFP, to go do a bid. And by the time you do all that, the pandemic will be over with. Because we're looking at probably 4 to 5 months before it even gets to be an expense. The deaths were all in 2020. So we do know the names of all of those that died. And so in Caddo Parish, looking at this, I think this might be year to date, but 675 deaths in Caddo Parish. So you look at 675 families that are mourning because they lost a loved one because there was a virus that came about and took their loved one all of a sudden. Think about those. I didn't flood the phone system with people that supported this because I figured everybody would be on board with it. I didn't think I would have this much opposition to a monument that will memorialize people who died for basically no reason, just by being out in the public and not knowing that, they had a virus that would kill them. And some of them died within 24 hours. Some died a little longer, but they still died. And those families, you think that they wouldn't want to have their loved one memorialized in Caddo Parish, which is this monument is totally different from the Confederate monument, because basically what you had on that was this death from one party over another. That could have been eliminated. It didn't even have to happen. But this is something that they had no control over. So I just ask you to vote your heart and your conscience. I see no one else. Roll call, please.
Liam was on.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Carthon.
Hey, Mr. President, I just want to throw this out for food for thought. Have you given any consideration of this being a public-private partnership where parish does a portion of the money and we raise the money, the additional money from the public, from private donors?
I'm open to that. Yeah,
okay. I just want to throw. I'm not asking that as an amendment. I just want to see your feelings on that, and just to throw it out, food for thought.
Right. Commissioner Burrell.
Commissioner Burrell, I believe you're muted.
Just one other question, Mr. President, along the same line as Commissioner Carlton. Since it's going to be in Caddo Parish, it also includes Shreveport. Would you consider extending out to them? They may want to be a part of this, or you can't mix it. Is it a situation where the funds will be mixed?
Yes, it can be done with both bodies. There's no problem.
Well,
I came to this body first.
Yeah, well, I would like to see that because, again, the greatest majority of those who passed, I believe, is in the city, but the city is in the parish. Sometimes people don't recognize that. So this may be an opportunity to do something together. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I think it's a great point. I just want to make sure the reason why I focused on location so much is because, again, when a lot of people think downtown, they think statues and stuff, but then also when people think downtown, that's where they want to do a lot of their protests and all that other stuff. So just want to make, that's the only reason why I discussing downtown. I don't think we need any more monuments at this point in downtown.
Well, I was just saying, that's why I said the riverfront and not
I do think that this is,
downtown.
well, the riverfront is in District 3. I think, people are, I just, I would love to see it. I would love for us to also include our healthcare sector, because that's where, as Commissioner Cawthorn was saying, that's where I think the public-private, private-public partnerships come in. But again, I know that's not what we're here today to discuss, but whoever and wherever this decides to go, let's make sure that healthcare settings is looked at first and foremost, because I don't want us to give a tribute to the gone, but not forgotten. But we still have folks who are working every day to come back, because once the monument is erected, people may eventually still be being lost. Maybe not at a large rate, but they'll still be lost to this virus. So hopefully somebody's gonna call for the question next. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you want the monument to be in a location in which there's a lot of foot traffic and traffic in order to be what it needs to be. And I don't want to tuck it away in a location that nobody goes to or sees, or will go out their way to have to go see it. I want it in a spot in which families can go out and mourn, tourists can come out and see it, that it's there for a reason and not just be tucked away. You can put it on your drive. That's the case. You got all the shopping centers out there. But, is that a place for memorial statues? No. Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not prepared to vote on this just yet, but I do want to make my opinion known, is that if a memorial or something of that nature is going to be suggested or approved by the commission, then I think it's not only important that we recognize those who have passed, but also would be inclusive of our medical community as well. And so it would be I'd say maybe a combined memorial, combined effort to recognize not only the deceased, but all those in the medical profession who gave up so much to take care of those of our loved ones who did pass away in a nursing home, and we never got a chance to see them before their passing. And anyway, I just want to make that statement. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so now we're getting more into the design of the memorial, and instead of it just being so. If we just focus on getting this passed, then we can focus on a design. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
I got my hand up.
Oh, I don't see it.
We've got
Okay.
Commissioner
Chavez.
Thank you, President. I wanted to make a motion that we move this to the committee of the President's choice. If I can get a second, I'll speak on it.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Talaferro. It sounds like there's people willing, but the details are not yet there that are amicable to everybody. I like what I've heard so far is not only the memorial, but to thank the healthcare workers and to see this in front of one of the hospitals and have a statue erected showcasing the unsung heroes of last year, I think would be awesome too. Of course, this is not my idea. This is Commissioner Johnson, so I don't know which committee that he would choose. But I think I hear people saying they do not want it downtown. The location and the specifics of the statue are so undecisive in the fact that at this point, I don't think there's enough people willing to vote on it, that I think when it goes to a committee of the President's choice, we can dial down on some of those details, see if we want to have other public-private partner buy-in, and we may get a flood of people's comments that have some really good ideas that are watching this meeting, or that it gets publicized via the news that we may not consider. And rather than hastily approving this over the next 2 weeks, that we actually get something meaningful. And I'd like to hear that out of a committee. So if I can get the support of the other commissioners, we could push it to a committee and discuss it there. That's all, President. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to speak to that myself. There are details, but we're not here to design it right now. We're here to actually pass actually doing it. Once we pass actually doing it, then we can go into design. Like I said, it's going to take 6 months to even get to the point of even trying to erect it. I didn't want to get into the design phase of it because even if I said we would have had first responders and all that on there, then somebody said that they wanted something else. So if we get past the point of let's do it, then we can go into the design phase. That's why the extra money is in there, because I know other people will have their opinion and want to do this and want to do that, which would then raise the cost of the monument. I was thinking ahead of y'all. I was already 2 steps ahead of you. I already knew additional thoughts would have been brought to this. So that's why the money is at that amount. You didn't want a plain monument. You're going to want some additional stuff on it. So we go to the design phase. But we got to first approve it. Why go through all the designing of it and then you don't even approve it? Doesn't make sense. Let's approve it and then design it and then move forward. I think when you build a house, don't you design it first? Or do you get the money to know that you know what kind of house that you can get? So once you go apply for a loan, you apply for that loan, you know what type of house you can build, then you design that house, and then you build it. Same process, same way. Roll call.
Hey, Commissioner Hopkins.
This is on the.
And this is on the substitute motion.
This is the substitute motion to move this to a committee of the president's choice.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
Commissioner Jackson.
No.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
No.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
No.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
No.
Okay, that motion does carry with 7 in support and 5 in opposition, unless I miscounted anybody's vote. I believe that's what I heard.
You got it right.
Okay, great. Thank
Next
you.
item.
Next
What was the
item,
vote count?
It was 7 to 5.
7-5.
Okay, the next item is authorized introduction of ordinance number 6040 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $25,000 to provide an appropriation for the Shreveport Volunteer Network and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
Then moved by Commissioner Lazarus, seconded by Commissioner, who was that?
Chavez.
Chavez. To move ordinance 6040 to Thursday. Commissioner Lazarus, you want to speak on your motion?
Yes, this is for the Shreveport Volunteer Network. These folks did some great work this past week. They were tardy in getting their application in, so it's not on the budget meeting in December. But it's in now, and I think they're doing a great job, and I just wanted to help them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson.
How long has the Shreveport Volunteer Network been in operations?
To my knowledge, just the past year.
Okay, did I clicked on the information deal under the ordinance, and I didn't see anything but the verbiage on the ordinance itself. Could you provide any information as to the officers, where they're located, who are a part of them? I've never heard of them before up to this point.
Commissioner Epperson, I hadn't heard of them either till last November. Tommy Giles. He was on the meeting earlier today for the Long Range Planning Committee. He's the person that I'm familiar with, but
Okay.
go ahead.
That won't help me now. Didn't you say that they do have the application process in for NGO?
Yes, sir, they do.
So, I mean, why didn't you include it in the documentation?
Haley drew this up for me. If it's not in there, then I have to defer to her as to why it's not.
Commissioner Epperson, I'm sorry.
That's all I have.
Haley, you muted, I believe.
I'm sorry. I was, I thought, anyway. So I thought I had sent the application when I supported the ordinance, but all of that happened. I did about 5 or 6 ordinances that day, and I might have inadvertently left the application off, but I can forward it to the entire body now if you'd like.
Yes. You have anything else, Commissioner Epperson?
No, sir, I'm finished.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, and am I correct in somebody saying that the application has been turned in, an application has been received? Am I correct in that?
Yes, sir.
Haley
The
said she does
application.
have.
Yeah, I do have the application, and I am forwarding it to all of you as we speak.
Okay. We had a conversation with this group earlier today at the Long Range Planning Committee, and let me say I was happy to hear about citizens out volunteering, organizing during the snowstorm. What I was not happy to learn was that this was the group that came over into my district to raise all type of sand about the condition and issues at Canaan Towers. And my question to the Shreveport Volunteer Network, they asked the parish, where were we during the snowstorm? My question to them is, where have they been for the last 50 to 60 years where folks have been talking about blight, disinvestment, and issues that are going on in impoverished communities? And I don't appreciate what they did and how they sort of talked down the parish. But now here they are today saying we need some NGO funding. My expectation is that when we provide non-governmental funding to an organization, we enter into a partnership agreement. And I'm not saying that we are paying for their silence or we're paying for their allegiance. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is we have to be mutual partners and have mutual understanding. And, they made a lot of comments at the meeting earlier talking about these people. Who does that in 2021? Those people. Referring to my citizens, my residents, my voters. And exacerbating the situation without even understanding why they're in the situation that they're in. And so, Commissioner Lazarus, I will vote to introduce today, and my commitment is to try to vote to support organizations as best as they can. But I would like to get some reassurance that this organization is committed to working with the parish, and we're not about to fund some folks to go badmouth the parish. Hey, look at what we over here doing. Your parish commissioners could have been out here doing it, but they ain't. That's not partnership. You know, I'm looking forward to reading their application, to seeing exactly what it is they do and things of that nature. Because I try to be reasonable. I try to support what I can support and things that are just reasonable. I hadn't asked anybody to do an RFP to see if they meet the requirements of what they say they do. I hadn't asked anybody to come down and say, well, how did we come up on this group? How did we arrive to this group? How were they found? I try to be fair to everybody. But what I'm not going to do is support a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 NGO application, and then they go hand out sandwiches in downtown, and they hadn't talked, or they not abiding by the rules that have been set for distributing food in downtown. That's not what we're going to support. We're not going to support that. And a lot of those groups, they know that they don't have to be confined by a lot of state law and all this other stuff that ties our hands. So they have the leeway to do it. And that's why we partner with them, because they do have the flexibility. But it's not to go out there and say, well, we have failed to do. And I hope by final passage, I have some assurance that they have an understanding of that. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right.
I'm prepared to vote this down
Commissioner,
if I need to.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
John
Go
was
ahead.
before him.
John.
Well, actually, it's Cawthon,
No.
Atkins, and Burrell.
It's
Hey,
Atkins,
President.
Cawthon, and Burrell.
Hey, can I get a point
right.
of clarification, President? I'm on the board. It wasn't the volunteer network that was on that meeting earlier that was making those accusations. I just want to make that clear. And I don't know if that guy, Mr. Derek, that was talking that stated that earlier, even knows those guys at the volunteer network. And it's two different organizations, just like we had the roofers and the GOSEP and the sheriff's office. They weren't in conjunction with each other. I just wanted to put that out there.
If I remember right, Commissioner Chavez, he mentioned that he was a part of the Shreveport Volunteer Network.
No, the
He did
Derek,
mention that.
Derek that was feeding, the people feeding were not a part of the Shreveport Volunteer Network.
Well, he mentioned that he was, and we can pull the recording to verify. Okay. Commissioner Atkins, then Cawthon, Burrell, Chavez, and Dan Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you all would expect, I have concerns about continuing to fund NGOs outside of the annual NGO funding process. So I'll vote to advance that I'm likely not to support a one-off NGO request. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Cawthon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to offer this. I don't know who are the players behind the Shreveport network, but I do want to say this. Over the recent crisis as it relates to the snow and getting out water and food, I did have a conversation with a lady that called me because I was a commissioner, and she had a relationship with someone out of Baton Rouge. She was bringing supplies from Baton Rouge to Shreveport, and she did indicate that she was a part of this network. And so the last 4 days, they were in Cedar Grove, Hollywood, parts of my district, distributing water. But the eccentricities of how they're organized, who they are, what their politics are, I don't know. But just based on the fact of the conversation I had and the outcomes we had in the community delivering water and supplies, seemed like pretty much a win-win, seemed like a good organization. But just like Commissioner Jackson, I would like to see more of who they are, but just on face value, they seem to be an organization at the time when people needed relief, when people needed help, they were willing to roll their sleeves up and get in the community and do such. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would want to support something for Commissioner Lazarus, since he never hardly asked for anything. but again, this particular organization, I am totally unfamiliar with, unless it just was created sometimes during this crisis, or as he said, it was created this past year. And again, I recognize that there are organizations that wind up either missing their deadline date for submittals. But what I'm understanding here is that we are starting to fund organizations outside our application process. And what I understand that our application, our next application date is April 1st. So am I understanding, you can ask this question, you can answer this question. My understanding, this is some sort of emergency funding that we are doing before the next application process for 2022, I would assume. Am I understanding that correctly?
Commissioner Burrell, it was my understanding that for them to get any money in 2021, that this had to be done now since they didn't make their December deadline.
And the reason that they didn't make their December deadline so that they could actually make the deadline that they would even be included in the 2020 funding is they weren't organized yet?
No, they organized this past year. I believe it was in June of 2020.
Okay. So they wouldn't have made the deadline then. They wouldn't have made the deadline for 2020 then, if they just organized in June.
Right.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, I'm just not familiar with. It's probably a good organization, but we've had organizations that have been in and worked for years, and we don't go through this process in many cases unless they wind up just missing the deadline. But this organization wasn't even formed, by the end. So this sounds like an emergency appropriation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I'm looking at the ordinance itself. For one, the organization is called the Shreveport Volunteer Network, which to me, a volunteer is you're doing something for free. You're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. Second of all, I see where in the ordinance it says the vision is to prepare, equip, and mobilize citizens of the community to take immediate action toward emergency and disaster response related needs within the community. Do we really want citizens to be out in the forefront of doing things that would endanger themselves and not know the total effect of what's going on? Yeah, the EOC moves at a certain pace, but there are things that are happening within the EOC that, you will say, well, that really wasn't a big deal, but it really was. I think that this is sort of like a militia, in my opinion, that we were trying to fund. If there's no disaster, there's no need for them to activate. If there is a disaster, then they're prepared to equip and mobilize citizens. To me, that's what type of disasters are we talking about? And I think in here somewhere it says about natural and unnatural disasters. Define that. Can anybody define what is a natural and unnatural disaster? Is that sort of like a civil engagement? It's taking me by storm, especially on the conversation we had earlier, that we've already had this one disaster and they did it out of the kindness of their heart, and now they're asking for some money to be prepared for the next disaster if there is one. So if there's no disaster, Donna, am I right? Then there's no appropriation of funds according to their purpose.
Commissioner, I would have to know more about it, but if they're only doing disaster response, then they would not need to get their funds until a disaster actually happened.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So I was actually looking at the application. My bad. It says our vision is to prepare, equip, mobilize citizens of this community to take immediate action toward emergency and disaster response related to needs within the community. All citizens have the basic necessity to survive a natural and unnatural disaster. The Shreveport Volunteer Network has the ability to rally communities to gain additional manpower from the private sector when local and state agencies are unable to. I just feel that if they want to work within the EOC, that's one thing, but to be out there doing things, and like they mentioned today, they was out there clearing public roads off without the authorization from, I know they didn't have the authorization from the parish, they didn't have the authorization from the city. So how are they out there clearing public roads off? What if they had hit somebody? Who's going to be responsible for that? Who is liable for that? And so therefore, there's a way to get these organizations involved, but this is not the way to do it. And then by giving them money, you basically saying you go out there and do it on your own. And then that would, to me, make us liable because we've given them money to go out there and do that without fully having them authorized through the Mercy Declaration or the Mercy EOC. Commissioner Carthon, second time.
Yes, I just want to add this to offer to Commissioner Lazarus. Maybe you need to bring this to a committee so it can be vetted. Seems like the people are willing participants in disaster situations. I just think some guardrails need to be put on partnering with them. And it's like with any transaction, people like to understand a little bit better of who's running the organization, who these people are and where they come from. Sounds like an excellent concept. Sounds like they're doing it from the goodness of their heart. Like I said, I had some good experiences with the people. This lady was kind of a volunteer with the group that put me in connection with some other people. And I know there's a man out of Baton Rouge who was on Channel 12, who was the guy that was pulling snow off the road and that sort of thing. But I just think we probably need to vet this a little bit, put some guardrails on it, get legal involved, and see how we make this a win-win public-partner partnership with some guardrails on it. Thanks.
I'd support that.
Okay.
Seeing no other, Commissioner Chavez.
Thanks, President.
Second time.
Thank you. One of the commissioners asked, when did these guys get started? And I messaged him and I said, when did you guys go into action? And he said July 2nd of 2019, which was obviously a couple of years ago. They started out in Western Hills, and I guess there was a really bad storm and a bunch of trees had fallen down in that community, and they went out there with chainsaws and helped the neighborhood, and that's how they started the volunteer network. And I also asked him, was Derek part of his organization? That was the guy that spoke in long range. He said, no, he's not. Why? I left. I didn't tell him why, but so I don't want to point fingers or why these guys are established or when they established. I like what Commissioner Cawthorn said, or I think it was Cawthorn. If we appropriate these funds and emergency doesn't happen, obviously they don't get them. Just like any other NGO, that if something happens though, that the budget's ready for the drawdown if they need whatever they may need. So I agree with Commissioner Lazarus that these guys deployed, they got into action. I don't know exactly what they need. They were on our long range plan earlier. We're going to link them up with Mr. Jump. They had nothing but great stuff to say about the EOC, and I know they're going to work in hand with them. And they had never heard about the VOAD organization. So I know VOAD and them will start getting together for communication purposes. So I think ultimately it was good. I mean, obviously organizations need money to operate. I know these guys are volunteering. I know they allocated a lot of their own personal money. So I don't know what they need the money for. However, I know that they were very, very visible last week helping the people out. So I applaud Commissioner Lazarus for trying to get them some help. That's all. Thanks,
They
President.
must was in Southern Hills.
They honestly weren't in Southern Hills. I saw them a lot on I-20, and they were I take that back.
Okay.
They came to Southern for the dialysis center. They cleared the parking lot in the dialysis center.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr.
Second
President.
time.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that we move this to the NGO committee for further review and consideration for 2022 funding.
Second.
Okay.
Been moved by Commissioner Atkins to move this to the NGO committee for 2022 funding, and it was seconded by Commissioner Lazarus, I think.
Burrell.
Burrell.
Oh, Burrell. Okay. All right, Commissioner Atkins, you want to speak on that motion?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Obviously, there's still a lot that needs to be learned about this group. Apparently, they've been doing some good work, but they're not well known across the whole commission. So I see this as an opportunity for them to introduce themselves to the NGO committee, and at the same time ensure that they get their request for funding into the 2022 process, thereby killing two birds with one stone. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Burrell.
Well, Commissioner Atkins actually made the substitute motion that I was going to suggest, because we're so close to the application deadline, which I think is April 1st. Then we would know a little bit more about this organization. Sound like a great organization, and we can all, I'm a believer in NGOs because they normally return 7-to-1 in terms of value back to the community. So I do support that, but to do this hurriedly outside our process, our regular process, I just have a little issue with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Evans.
Call for the question on the motions.
I'll second that one. You muted Commissioner Jackson if you're saying something.
I didn't have my chance to speak on the substitute motion. I guess I need to make a clarification. I got a clarification.
Go ahead and make your comments, Commissioner Jackson.
Dr. Wilson, or Ms. Bryant, if y'all could, as y'all consider this, I'm not going to change Commissioner Atkins' motion, but if y'all could also see, if there's a possibility that they may, the group may be able, because this really and truly doesn't sound like an NGO. As the more and more I listen to this, it doesn't sound like an NGO. I was ready to support Commissioner Lazarus, but if y'all could, as a clarification, could y'all see if they may be able to provide a service as a contract under Public Works or something like that? Because if a tornado comes through, I think we were on the tornado watch last night. So if something comes through and they need to go cut some trees, I'm fine with that. But it just does not sound like NGO work that they're doing to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into the application, but it just doesn't sound like NGO. The more and more I hear people talk about it.
We got it. Roll call on the call for the question now.
Okay, this is the vote for the call for the question. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage-Watts. Commissioner Gage-Watts, I didn't hear you. If you responded. Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And so that brings us to the vote is the substitute motion, which is to move Ordinance 6040 to the NGO committee.
And consider for 2022 funding.
And consider for 2022 funding.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Put them in compliance.
And that motion was by Commissioner Atkinson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Okay. Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Hopkins, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes, and it was yes on the other item as well.
Thank you. I'll make that adjustment.
Thank you.
And let's see, Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to our next item, which is authorizing the introduction of ordinance number 6041 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund in the amount of $30,000 to provide an appropriation to Northwest Louisiana Food Bank and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Epperson to move ordinance number 6041 of 2021. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know we already appropriate a set amount. What is it, $100,000 a year that we give to the food bank? Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's going to be 130 grand for 2021.
Yes.
And then I guess my only question is, did Martha call? Is there something that they need? I mean, I love the food bank. Martha does amazing work. So is there something that they need the 30 grand for? Like, is it more food? Is it more refrigeration?
This is going beyond what they normally do. Basically, this is a project of Caddo Parish Commission feeding Caddo Parish. There will be multiple trucks, different points within the parish on the same day, giving out food. This is one of the necessities that y'all talked about earlier. This is a necessity, food. With COVID and then this winter storm, people are behind on a lot of things, and they switching money around to pay one bill over another, and this is just a relief of trying to do that. There again, this number is higher than what is probably going to be expected, but I also want to make sure that we cover what we need to, and then there will probably be some additional people want to do some additional things. So therefore, I said the 30,000.
And just for clarification, President, I'm totally on board with this. I'm just trying to get clarification. You guys know I typically operate off the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and food and shelter is one of the main things. And we spend a lot of money on a lot of other things, but at the end of the day, helping feed the people in our parish, that's paramount. So thanks for bringing this forward. I'll be supporting this. That's all, President.
All right. Commissioner Atkins.
This is a high priority, obvious need being met by a well-established, high-performing organization. So in this particular case, I'm going to go against my own rules and vote to provide some emergency aid through the food bank. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understand that I will be supporting this as well, but I'm just curious as if they've actually provided us with a detailed wants and needs list, so the commission get a better idea of where the gap is, and maybe in hopes of doing a little pre-planning for years in the future, or their needs in the future.
Well, basically, I went to them and asked them
Okay.
to help pull this project out for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell, Commissioner Epperson, then Burrell.
Yes, and there are going to be some more anxieties on top of what just happened with this freeze. I've received about 7 calls relative to will there be any disaster relief for the poor and the indigent that have ruptured pipes. It's a lot of that. So therefore, people are going to have to try to spend money for food to try to get pipes. That means that their water will have to be cut off because most of the ruptures appeared on their side of the meter. And Martha's always good. Anytime she's doing something, she called me and asked if I want to come out and join them when they're doing the giveaway. And I'm pretty sure you can call her and she'll allow you to do the same thing. You can go out and help pass out boxes with her.
Well, this program is designed for commissioners to go out there and help and to be there with them. They're going to be scattered out throughout the parish. Commissioner Burrell, then Jackson, and then Watts.
Well, I just want to get a clarification. The Louisiana Food Bank is, if I'm not mistaken, looking back at the map in my district, and I have gone out and worked with them and appropriated money for them from time to time. Am I understanding that this $30,000 is going toward a special Caddo program, an additional program that they have, or
yes, it's an additional program.
Yeah, because
this is an additional program. This is an additional program. This was not in their budget. Was it on their radar? I talked to Martha and asked her, can we do basically a Caddo Parish feed throughout the parish with some trucks, so everybody's on the same day, and people will come and get their food boxes and go home.
So this is a program that you're initiating, Mr. President. I'm just trying to get a clarification.
Yes.
Is a program that you're initiating over and above what they do?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's what I needed to know. All right. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Jackson and then Commissioner Watts.
Yes. I enjoy the food bank and I like the work. I was out with them last week handing out boxes, and the need is so great. Who will be deciding, or how are the sites going to be determined and chosen? Or will she contact the commissioners to work that out, or how are we going to?
Based on the commissioners and what they want to do, if a commissioner wants it in the area, we're going to try to put that one over there. If a commissioner doesn't want it in his area, then we'll try to put one close by so his constituents can still get to one.
Okay.
In a nearby district.
Because I know the way things get advertised and things of that nature, I want to make sure that folks who actually need it, so the ones that I do with the food bank in my district, I work through the schools, I work through the Caddo community action agencies, I work through the churches in that area to notify the residents in that area so that folks are not coming from, and I know it, people slip through the cracks, but I know my residents when I see them. And so
that's why I wanted to do it all on the same day.
Right.
So same day, you don't have that opportunity.
I know, but they'll get in their car and try to make it up there. I just want to make sure the commissioners are involved in identifying locations and that type of stuff. So, because I know the location that we use for distribution has been Mount Canaan in my district. So I want to make sure that we don't set something up that deviates away from a normal practice. I'm all for this, but I just want to make sure we're not deviating away from what's been done.
We're not gonna put one on top of the hill somewhere where nobody will normally go. Commissioner Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to commend you for bringing this legislation forward. Does everyone else have an echo or just me? I think it's
No, it was coming through.
okay. Yeah, I want to just thank you, commend you for bringing this legislation forward. I think we need to do everything we can to help our citizens in this season. As it has been mentioned, we will have some more people who will be needing additional assistance during this time due to the polar vortex, due to all of the busted pipes, due to not being employed. So I think that the least we could do right now is to start out with these type of food drives collectively across our individual districts. So thank you again for this. And of course, I am supporting it, always support Northwest Louisiana Food Bank, and a lot of our citizens or just now finding out who they are and what they do. So I think that a lot of people will be able to receive food at this food bank drive. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Burrell, second time.
Yes, I just want to get a good clarification. Since you said, Mr. President, that this is an additional program in addition to what they do. Well, I'll assume then that the program, well, I'm not familiar with it. Maybe some of the others are, but when it takes place, then they're going to reach out to the individual commissioners to be a part of it, to see if they want to be a part of it, or how does that work?
The program will be that the commissioners will be involved, the ones that want to be involved, the ones that don't want to be involved. We're not going to make them be involved, but yeah, you will be involved. And the location, just like Commissioner Jackson asked the question, you're not going to pick a location that, you know, people are not accustomed to going to, not a place that you would say, well, I don't want it to be there, I want it to be here. It's going to be a program that's going to work without hitches, unless you want to create a hitch, you know, but it's going to work.
Well, I don't see creating any hitch. My only question is, the commissioners will be made aware of when and where, you know, this is going to take place, so that since this is an additional program, that we would be involved. That's all that I was really getting at, to be made aware of.
Yeah, we'll have a date selected, and the commission and the commissioners will be involved in it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
All right. And this is for advancing 401, Commissioner Hopkins. I mean, 60.
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins, I heard that. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage-Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And the next item is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6042 of 2021. It's an ordinance adopting the budget of estimated expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund and otherwise provide with respect thereto. From Commissioner Jackson.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Burrell, to move ordinance number 6042 of 2021. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak on your motion?
I'll defer to if Erica or Haley is on. I'll defer to them, like, for explanation of what we got.
Commissioner Jackson or Commissioner Johnson, sorry, this is Haley. The reason this this ordinance is on the agenda is due to the need for an expenditure budget. The budget was passed with strictly just revenues for this budget, and Commissioner Jackson would like us to issue a RFP for services. And without an expenditure line item, we can't issue said RFP. So this is just establishing expenditures in this fund so that we can start working towards the purpose of the fund.
So thank you so much, Haley. Want to appreciate administration for, this has been a multi-step process, and appreciate administration for, I'm sorry, I think I turned the filter on, Lord. Hold on. To move us toward this point, but want to make sure that we can get the trust fund up and moving. And so we just have to make sure that we have expenses budgeted. And so this is more procedural formalities kind of thing. No monies are going out. I don't want anybody to think any dollars are going anywhere. It's just procedural. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no one else, roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to our next item, authorized introduction of ordinance number 6043 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2021 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Burrell to move ordinance number 6043 of 2021. Commissioner Jackson, want to speak on your motion?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. This is just the ordinance that parks those dollars in the reserve trust fund. As you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we set the fund up to be able to establish and to receive grants and things of that nature. Again, no one or no organization is receiving any dollars. This is just the appropriate place that those dollars will reside, and make sure that those dollars get out the door in an expeditious manner. So thank you for your favorable introduction. And again, no dollars are being appropriated to anybody. This is just a formality that the dollars have to be recognized from an accounting perspective. The dollars have to be recognized, and then they have to be budgeted. They have to be budgeted as an expense in order to go out. So that's all we're doing. And so as the parish prepares to cut those checks to those landlords, we won't have to come back and do a budget amendment every time that those checks are being prepared to be cut. I thank you to Finance and Administration and Assistant Administrator Ms. Bryant for working on this. Thank you.
Okay, are y'all ready for a roll call?
I think he stepped away. John?
Okay, Mr. President, are you out?
Looks like he stepped off.
Looks like he's off camera at least.
Okay, well then let's move forward with the roll call. Roll call, what am I trying to say? You know what I mean?
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Thank you,
You
Mr.
got it. Thank you very much. Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Hopkins, I didn't hear you if you responded.
Yes.
Thank you. I heard you. Commissioner Johnson. It looks like he stepped away for a moment. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
And Commissioner Johnson, did you want to vote? This is to
Yes.
advance 6043.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, that motion passes with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to our first resolution after the ordinances. This is to authorize resolution number 22 of 2021. It's a resolution condemning the January 6, 2021 attack on the United States Capitol and otherwise provide with respect thereto, from Commissioner Epperson.
Yeah, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to move resolution number 22 of 2021, resolution number 23 of 2021, resolution number 25 of 2021 to be advanced to Thursday. If I can get a second.
I second that. I second. Been moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by the chair, to advance resolution 22, 23, and 25. Commissioner Epperson, you want to speak on your motion?
In light of time, we've been here a pretty good while. I think we can do whatever we're going to do on Thursday. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
No.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Calafaro,
No.
Commissioner Atkins,
No.
Commissioner Chavez,
No.
Commissioner Lazarus,
No.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion fails with a 6-6 vote, unless I heard anybody wrong. I think I got that correct. So let's see. I think so now, do y'all want to take up just 23, or do we want to move on?
No, we move on to
move on
to 26.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if there was some consideration separately that was different, but if there is, somebody speak up. Otherwise, we'll go to resolution number 21, a resolution amending the rules and bylaws of the Caddo Parish Commission regarding the time limits of speakers under communiques and committee reports, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
Who was the second?
Hopkins.
Okay. Now move by the chair and second by Commissioner Hopkins to move resolution 26 to Thursday. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak on that motion? You want to speak to that?
Where we at?
26.
We're on 26.
No, I'm sorry. No, my hand shouldn't be up. I'm sorry.
All right, Commissioner Epperson.
I'm lost. Never mind.
I'm still in.
Mr. Chairman.
No one speaking?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Epperson.
I'd like to move that resolution number 26 of 2021 and resolution number 27 of 2021 be remanded to the Personnel Policies Committee.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell to move 26 and 27 resolution to the which committee? Policies and Procedures Committee?
Yes.
Okay. You want to speak to that motion?
Yes. Instead of piecemeal in this situation, for some reason, it appears as though we are cognizant of the time of our meetings, which I think I'm looking at about 6:35 now. And if we would go back to 2020, and I think go back to 2019, instead of piecemealing our situation, and even further back, we've always had these issues, And first of all, I just like to let everybody know that the citizens did not elect me to come on this body and sit down and be muted. They elected me to come out to be an advocate in behalf of them. They did not elect me to come down and try to meet a deadline for a newspaper. They didn't elect me to come down and shorten the meeting in order to meet happy hour, 3-for-1 drinks for somebody, or whatever you want to do. We all know what we are getting into once we are elected in these positions. So we should be prepared to do whatever it takes, however long it takes, to conduct our meeting and take care of our business. I think the proper place for these two issues at this present time would be the Personnel Policy Committee, so we can look at the entire bylaws. Because if you go back over the last year, or if you go back over this meeting, you can certainly see that the couple of the items on one of the items on here is not the reason for the longevity of these meetings. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson, your hand is up or down?
Yes, it's up. It took me a while to find out where we were at on the agenda. But I agree with Commissioner Epperson. I was prepared to go to the gym at 6, but when I'm not, some days I put my headphones on and turn my camera off and I go running or take off on a brisk walk when it's still light outside. But I'm always hesitant to change the rules, procedures, and structure of the body. Particularly, I believe we were discussing 27 too, right? 27, I think 27 could do very severe damage because we're all passionate about different things, and to limit when somebody can do something, that's a concern to me, because, you know, what would be next? Would we start limiting citizens, how many times they can come down? And so if a citizen wanted to come down and talk about a particular issue every time, the same issue every time we see them, that young man who calls us about some situation at LSU and Oshner and the mayor and the police chief, and, you know, that guy that he just goes on and on. What are we gonna do? We're gonna tell him, hey, you can only call one time every 6 months. So I just think that we ought to, you know, hunker down. Let's look to see what needs to be on the agenda, what doesn't need to be on the agenda. Let's call each other to build consensus first. So I know folks' hearts are in the right place, but I'm just hesitant to do structural changes to our body, particularly that limits us from putting things forward. So, you know, I look forward to having a conversation about this in the Policy and Personnel Committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, I'm gonna speak on 26. 26, reason I put it on the agenda, we basically had a gentleman's agreement before, but I know Commissioner Jackson, you always want to see stuff in black and white, so that's why I'm putting it in black and white. We've had many meetings in which the discussion went beyond the actual topic that was on. And then even at that, when you go to communiques, commission can talk for 20 to 30 minutes without even being interrupted. So therefore, I wanted to put some timeline, let the commissioner get his thoughts together, let him have 5 minutes. There's always a motion that you can just say, move to extend for another 5 minutes. And if the body goes along with it, that's fine and dandy. But I just don't think that we should be here just taking all night talking about something that doesn't have anything to do with the agenda. Commissioner Burrell.
Well, I'm going to talk about 27. I really didn't, I guess, understand what this was until I reread it and recognized that it was really pointed toward a couple of things that has taken place here recently, and that has to do with Commissioner Epperson's resolution, which created a stir, and then, well, two of them, and the one that has to do with minimum wage. You know, these are political issues, and we are in a political body. And from where I stand, if you don't like the resolution or you don't like the legislation, you vote it up or vote it down, but trying to restrict someone to not bring it back because it's something that they're working on, I think that's a bit disrespectful to whoever the individual is. I know when I was down in the legislature, it took sometimes 4 to 8 years to get a piece of legislation through, but you reintroduced it until you got the support that you needed. They didn't go in and change the laws and restrict, said, well, you can't bring it back up again. That's what I'm understanding this number 27 is doing, and I really think that you're going to be doing harm to the to the process, the legislative process that we have, if you try to do something like this, because what it's going to do is it's going to create a situation where we're going to start making up things to go against individuals who bring things forward. So I think you need to rethink number 27. I understand what you're trying to do, but at the same time, we resolve those issues by voting it up or voting it down. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Epperson, take your time.
You know, it amazes me that people are talking about liberties and freedoms and rights. And if we get a group to come down, depending on who they are and what the issues is, they talk forever. And this is a restriction of our First Amendment rights. Not only that, on top of that, you are restricting what we were sent down to this body to do, to advocate on behalf of our citizens. If we don't do that, they have no voice. And I think it's a coward's way out to not even entertain something for a debate and let it go forward. If you're a man or woman enough to believe in something, then be man or woman enough to debate and articulate yourself in defense and either vote yes or no and move up and down. It is absolutely ridiculous for this sort of thing to be happening at this point in time. Both of those resolutions that I mentioned to you and other things need to be addressed too. There's a lot of debate and discussion that's not germane to the items in which we are debating. I was the president on this body twice. We kept, and I got to the point where we put times on the meetings. I didn't have all that. That comes from leadership. It don't come from putting something on the book. You can put anything on the book that you want, but if you don't enforce it, it's not worth the paper that you wrote it on. Richard Pryor had a good, strong joke. You see, oftentimes, if you're looking for something outside of where you are, it's right under your nose if you dig a little deeper. The process should be to change this. We need to reevaluate the whole process with this and not piecemeal because somebody put something out on Facebook because they want to meet a deadline for a rag newspaper or go drink some whiskey or go to a house of ill repute. The Caddo Parish Commission is our body. We are advocating in behalf of our citizens. If we want to change plans, good plans come from good data. We need to remand both of these things to the Personnel Policy Committee, and we need to address a lot of other issues too, and be factual and put it on the table, and not be choice. Thank you.
Roll call.
Okay, let's see. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
Commissioner Jackson.
What are we voting on again?
This is to remand 27 and 26, I'm sorry, 26 and 27 to the Personnel Policy Procedure Committee.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Young, I didn't hear you if you responded.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talapero.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Chavez, I didn't hear you if you responded.
Sorry, it was on mute. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lazarus.
No.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes with 10 in support and 2 in opposition. And Let's see. The
Next item.
next item is authorized resolution number 28 of 2021. It's a resolution supporting the American Rescue Plan and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move for introduction to Thursday.
Second.
The move by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Watts to move resolution number 28 to Thursday. Commissioner Jackson, want to speak on that motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to note that this is in accordance with what NACO has asked us to do. I specifically left out some of the more controversial issues related to this particular item, but we do need to, NACO has asked us to encourage our congressional delegation to be on board with much needed support for our local community. And what we're specifically asking them to support is funding for vaccine development and distribution. That's how we're going to really get back to some level of normal. Asking them to increase COVID-19 testing and contact tracing. We heard from Dr. Kelville a couple of weeks ago. We heard from Dr. Martha White a couple of weeks ago saying that you can't do enough of that. And that's really going to help continue identify, because we know that variants are out there, and variants, the robust testing is actually what led to identifying the different variants that were out there. And so it speaks to the impact that increased testing has. It provides state and local governments with dollars. And I want to speak specifically to Caddo and Shreveport. The city of Shreveport and Caddo Parish stands a chance of getting almost $80 million for us to support in our local economy, things that respond to COVID-19, whether it's the economic fallout or the economic recovery from COVID-19 and community recovery from COVID-19. It provides an additional direct payments to low income and middle class families. Those things have been capped. The dollar amount has been capped on who will receive those. But we know that people need those dollars and they need them critically. It provides additional $25 billion in rental assistance. We know right now that $7 million is probably not going to be enough for the need that's out there. And so there's additional dollars for rental assistance. Right now, I got off the call. Again, I was late getting on this call because the state is not going to include utility assistance in their program simply because they don't think that they will have enough to do rental and utility assistance. So we know that another tranche of money is going to be needed, desperately needed. It provides $10 billion in mortgage assistance to homeowners. I think President Johnson pointed it out that in one of our conversations that we were having is that homeowners have been hit hard. And right now there is no assistance other than those direct payments out there for them. Right now there is a moratorium that is suspended on federally backed. Again, those are federally backed mortgages. Those are not private mortgages. And so, and then you also have to think about those mortgages where individuals, again, they're suspended. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Those mortgages are suspended. They're not forgiven. And so those dollars are going to be critical for homeowners. And the last thing we need is to have a bunch of foreclosures in our community. We saw what happened in the market when foreclosures start to go up. And if you really want to see another depression, let the housing market tank. And then there are funds to encourage safe school reopening. Those are things that's not a partisan issue. There are areas in our state that are still struggling with school reopening, and even in Caddo. I know we have forged forward with reopening schools, but it gives those teachers, it gives those school systems more opportunities to do spacing. It gives them the opportunity they need. We talked about the lack of broadband capacity. So it will help those schools identify funding and support safe school reopening. And it starts the process. What I'm most excited about, and what we all should be most excited about, is it starts a meaningful process of repealing the Medicaid exclusion that's going to save Caddo Parish dollars. We've been advocating at NACO for this for years now. We've adopted the resolution. This will now allow individuals, we can now start billing Medicaid 30 days before those individuals get out, and Medicaid will reimburse you for up to 90 days worth of expenses. And so it's a good step forward in the right direction. Again, I didn't include all the provisions. I just include what NACO has asked us to focus in on. And I hope we will send a message to our delegation that this is something that Caddo Parish and the state of Louisiana is in need of. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no one else, roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
No.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
No.
Lazarus, I didn't hear you. Did you?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 in opposition. And that brings us to the next item, authorized resolution number 29 of 2021. The resolution submitting to Governor John Bel Edwards the name for appointment for membership on the Red River Waterway Commission from Commissioner Johnson.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Cawthorn to move resolution 29 to Thursday. Commissioner Burrell.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just as a point of information on this particular position, I understand that the commission has an appointment, at least an appointment to this Waterway Commission. Is the time up for the previous person, or are we asking for another slot or something?
This is a reappointment. The time will be up soon.
Okay.
And we have a recommendation to the governor, and the governor will then appoint.
Okay, but we're not submitting a name. We're just asking him to reappoint.
We are submitting a name.
Oh, okay.
Reappoint Ron Latier.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Seeing no one else, roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yeah.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item, which is to authorize reappointments to the Caddo Parish Animal Service Board. It's authorizing the reappointment of Sarah Walton and Lorraine Guerrero to the Caddo Parish Animal Services Board with a term to expire of 01/01/25.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to englobo and advance agenda items 12.18, 12.19, 12.20, and 12.21.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Atkins and second by Commissioner Chavez to englobo and advance 12.18, 12.19, 12.20, 12.21. You want to speak to that motion, Commissioner Atkins?
No, sir, I think all these agenda items are very clear and we can move to a vote.
All right, Commissioner Epperson.
We say, when we say that, we say clear, but what if we have some people that's listening? You know what I mean? We've been here. It's almost 7 o'clock now. And now we want a shortcut.
Well, Commissioner
That's all I
Epperson,
have to say.
Commissioner Epperson, you're certainly welcome to vote no.
No other commissioners, roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Gage Watts, I didn't hear you if you responded.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item after that, which is authorizing a special resolution honoring a local pioneering African Americans in law enforcement from Commissioner Cawthorn.
So move.
Second.
Then moved by Commissioner Cawthorn, seconded by Commissioner Johnson to authorize special resolution honoring local pioneer African Americans in law enforcement. Commissioner Cawthorn, you want to speak to that motion?
Yeah, very briefly. This was intended obviously for Black History Month, and it's gone into March. But we have a picture attached to this resolution and the verbiage of the resolution. And with the exception of 2 men pictured on that particular photo, those guys will represent the first 15 African Americans appointed to the Shreveport Police Department. So we just want to take the time to pay homage and honor to pioneers in this local community. Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson.
I'd like a point of information first before I make my motion, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Is March Women's Month? Is the month of March Women's Month?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make an amendment to Mr. Cawthorn's motion that I would inject the duties of the 6888 Women's Army Corps Postal Service in World War III relative in that same vein.
That's not pertain to the resolution.
That's not germane.
We're talking about African Americans in law enforcement. So when you going into some women in the military.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize that wasn't germane to the resolution.
All right. Commissioner Gage Watts.
See, I don't know much about. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I would like to add women also to that resolution to be recognized in law enforcement that has made history.
Okay, well, it says African American, so it wasn't gender neutral. So I think the photo that he attached were the ones that initially were in the force, and you want to add the women that joined later.
Yes, because I think Commissioner Cawthorn just said the men that will be recognized.
That the men that were pictured.
I'm sorry.
The men that were pictured.
Okay, thank you for clarification. So the women will be included in this resolution as well, Commissioner Cawthorn?
Well, could you do me a favor and get me the names of those ladies? That would be, who those persons would be?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Cawthorn, I really appreciate you bringing this photo to light. I can honestly say that probably 3/4 of these people, these officers in this picture were very influential in my early law enforcement career as a Shreveport police officer. rode with, were supervised by. Like I say, many in this photo. I know one, speaking of the female, of course, Dennis Kitchen and his wife, Linda, were very instrumental as supervisors of mine, and Marshall Nelson, K.R. Jackson, and so forth. So I really appreciate you doing this, bringing these guys and gals to our attention. They were truly pioneers in law enforcement, specifically in the Black community, where, as many of you know, that railroad tracks separated where they could patrol and where they could not patrol. And we have definitely come a long way as brothers and sisters in blue. And again, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
See no other commissioners, roll call.
All right, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
That motion carries with 12 in support and 0 in opposition, and brings us to our next item, which is to authorize special resolution of appreciation and recognition for hall builders.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, second by, I think it was Commissioner Chavez.
That's right.
To
Gage
move
Watts.
resolution on hall builders and Gage Watts. You can put both of them on there in a second.
It's Women's Month. You can still have it.
Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jackson, I didn't hear you if you responded. Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent.
No, Jeff, I should be a yes. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay,
here.
thank you.
Yeah,
I'll correct that. That's 12 in support and 0 in opposition. Motion carries, and brings us to our next item, which is to authorize resolution of appreciation and recognition for CNC Oilfield Services and Bulldog Oilfield Services.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Watts, seconded by, I don't know who that was.
Hopkins.
Oh, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Gage Watts, you want to speak on that motion?
I'll reserve to speak on Thursday. I just asked that Mr. Clerk be prepared to read it on Thursday, and we'll see if we can get one of the team members to be on the call.
Okay.
Thank
I'd like
you.
to make a substitute motion to englobo and advance 1224, 1225, 1226, 1227.
Second.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Watts to englobo and advance all the remaining items on the work session agenda.
Mr. Clerk,
Yes.
add me to that one, that 1226. Thank you.
Oh, add you as a sponsor on 1226.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
Roll call.
Ready for a roll call? Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson
Yes.
and Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Now, see, we got one commissioner, Commissioner Jackson.
Well, now that I know that we have an unlimited time on communiques, I'll be well prepared on Thursday. That concludes my comments under this particular one for today. But I will be well prepared on Thursday.
Next item.
Okay, the next item is citizens' comments, late arrivals. We did receive one electronic comment that came during the meeting. And then otherwise, if you'd like, I'll go ahead and give that phone number out and then we can read the comments. That phone number is 318.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, 318-226-6596 is the phone number if somebody would like to call for public comments. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. And again, that phone number is 318-226-6596. And with that, I will read the item that was received electronically. This item comes from Mr. David Highland, and it says, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to address the Commission and the Deaf Action Center's 38-year history. We have provided hundreds of thousands of hours of sign language interpreting services in support of the deaf community, government agencies, medical community, and private industry. Interpreting services are used in medical, governmental, legal, educational, and personal situations. One of the foremost uses of sign language interpreting services has been in the area of employment. This includes applying for jobs, job acquisition, job training, job retention. The COVID pandemic has adversely affected the deaf community regarding access to accessing all resources, including sign language interpreting. Deaf individuals, like many hearing people, have lost their jobs due to the economic impact of the pandemic on business. However, deaf individuals are mainly hindered by many limitations, including social distancing. In response to this crisis, the center intends to do 2 things. First, we will expand our remote interpreting services.
Yes, I just got a call from you.
Sorry. First, we will expand our video remote interpreting services so that deaf people can use their smartphones to access interpreting services through FaceTime and similar apps. Secondly, we will develop and disseminate to the deaf community materials such as videos, which will provide the American Sign Language employment information and resources available through government agencies, nonprofits, and private businesses. We hope this added assistance will help level the playing field as deaf individuals learn to cope with the ramifications of this pandemic and its economic impact on their families. We're seeking to partner with the Caddo Commission in addressing this catastrophic situation and help provide some relief to the deaf citizens of the parish. And that concludes the comments from Dr. David Hyman from the Deaf Action Center. And otherwise, I don't believe we have any callers holding. Michelle, can you correct me if you have anybody holding?
Move for adjournment.
It sounds like we may have a caller.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, we don't. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.